Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Movie Crusaders. No, it is not the Weekend Crusaders, not yet. But with me today is Brian Michaels, my Weekend Crusaders co-host, and today we are talking about basically the year so far. We're at the halfway point of the year. We're in July. If you hear fireworks going off, it's because it's July 4th, and Brian and I are a bunch of nerds, and we're here talking about movies instead of outside letting fireworks go off and shit. Don't judge us. You're watching this. You're probably doing the same thing. But we are going over basically the movies that have come out so far in 2021. We both have our own top 10 lists of the movies so far. We both have top 5 surprise films of the year and top 5 disappointments of the year so far. Basically how we're going to do it, at least for the top 10 anyway, is if Brian's pick is his number 10 is like my number 5, then we will wait to talk about that movie till we get to my number 5 so we can kind of talk about it kind of together. But nonetheless, wow, I'm messing up in the first minute. This is going to be a long night. So Brian, before we jump in to our lists as a whole so far for the first 6 months, how do you think the year's been so far?
It's been some decent stuff coming out. It's obviously been slimmer pickings than you would have in a normal year. I mean, it's obviously better than 2020, which the whole entire year I had a hard time making a top 10 out of for, films even at the end of the year. This year, there's been at least enough good stuff, though, that you can kind of get an idea for what you did and didn't like. And movies are starting to roll out a little faster, and there's been some quality stuff out there. So,
yeah, it's not nearly as bad as last year.
Not
where
at all.
The world basically stopped.
Yeah.
There was no reason. I can't even remember. I want to say I still did a half-year episode last year, but I heard it being like, yeah, this list sucks. It's not that the movies that I have on the list are bad.
When your top 5 and your bottom 5 overlap, that says something.
Exactly. This year, I think the real weird part about it being this year is that on normal years, when we get to this point, we're all kind of in the same realm. We're in I saw this in theaters, it was great, stuff like that. But we're in a new territory. We're in a new world now because of COVID, where a lot of the movies is, I saw this in theaters, or I saw this on Hulu, or Netflix, or HBO Max, or Prime. And the possibilities now are endless on where these movies are. You've got to see some of the movies that I've seen, and I haven't seen some of the movies you have seen, because either they're not available in certain areas, or some of us didn't want to spend money to see those movies.
Yeah, one of us has a service, the other one doesn't have, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's been an entirely different facet this year. And yeah, there hasn't been as many movies as normally what we would get pre-COVID era, but there have been some good, solid films that have come out for the year, and there have been some disappointments. I mean, if we look at our most anticipated list of 2021 that we did at the beginning of the year, a good chunk of our movies still have not come out yet. Some have actually got.
2021 is very back heavy. So I don't know how many of my list now is still going to be there at the end of the year.
And I think that's what Brian and I both discussed before we did the show. Is like, we will be surprised if anything outside of maybe our top 4, maybe top 3 will still be in the top 10 list by year's end, because a lot of our most anticipated stuff has not. I think I've only had like 5 or 6 out of my top 20, top 25 has actually come out this year so far. And I think you were kind of in the same boat.
Somewhere around there.
But yeah, so this list, we're going off of the stuff we've gotten so far. When we do the end of the year here in 6 months, I'm sure almost probably everything on this list, except for maybe a couple here or there, is going to be different, which is why I like doing these half-year episodes, because a lot of people like to forget about the first 6 months of the year because they're all focused on award seasons and all that crap. So that's why I like to do these episodes. But yeah, it'll be interesting to look back on this 6 months from now and see exactly where these rankings have changed. So let's go ahead and get this thing started off right. Brian, what is your honorable mention so far for the year?
So my honorable mention for the movies that have come out through the end of June, is actually The Tomorrow War. The Tomorrow War I just watched a couple days ago, just came out on Amazon Prime, of course, because it didn't go to theaters. I enjoyed it. I had problems with it, but it's the kind of movie that it was just kind of a fun, mindless sci-fi thing. And this is exactly the kind of movie that we were kind of talking about, where like it's making my honorable mention here, but it's not going to be anywhere near my top 10 by the end of the year. But I enjoyed it for the most part, despite some problems I had with it. Chris Pratt was, a little too serious for my tastes. It's got some logic, plot holes, things all over the place. But overall, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I just posted the review for it here a couple days ago, and I agree with you on pretty much everything you just said. You pretty much almost spoke verbatim to what my review said, except for obviously some pacing issues in it. It's spoken a little bit. I didn't hate the movie. I think it's getting ripped apart by a lot of reviewers. I think it's unnecessarily being ripped apart. I think a lot of people are just expecting so much, and it's like, guys, it's getting released on Prime, probably for a reason. Hold those expectations. I agree. The serious Chris Pratt is not what people came to see. We came to see snarky, funny Chris Pratt, which I think that would have fit even better in this movie overall. Going to my honorable mention, this one was an Oscar favorite. It was higher ranked at the beginning of the year for me, but then as the months have gone on, I'm forgetting less and less of this movie. Other than I remember going, it's good, it's really well acted. I don't remember much of the movie anymore, and that is Judas and the Black Messiah. The performances were all incredibly solid. Obviously, they were not. Some performances were nominated. I'm just forgetting the film now because we've seen so many films since I think it was February when this came out. Between February and June, we've seen so many films, whether it be for new movies or whether it be for the Weekend Crusaders episodes, that I try to go back and think about it, and I think of like maybe 4 scenes from the movie. I remember liking the film when it came out, except for there's some slow parts. They probably could have done a little bit better in terms of pacing, but nonetheless, it's rated higher. I think I gave it like an 85 out of 100. But going back to it now, it's like, if I can barely remember the film, it doesn't deserve to be in my top 10. So that's why it's my honorable mention. Brian, what is your number 10 of the year so far?
My number 10 of the year so far is Wrath of Man.
I have not seen it. You know, and I think most people who watch our shows know I'm not a Guy Ritchie fan. So I usually try to stay clear of Guy Ritchie. So I really have no input for this. So take it away.
No, I mean, Guy Ritchie is kind of hit and miss for me. I don't think I truly hate anything he's done. Like, yeah, I even enjoyed his King Arthur movie that a lot of people really trash. I mean, it's got its problems for sure, but I enjoyed it. But this is a movie that, first of all, I didn't even know was coming out. And it totally looked like something that should have gone straight to, VOD or something. But this is actually one that went to theaters. And I actually very much enjoyed it. I think Guy Ritchie really dialed back on his, Guy Ritchie-isms. It's not, the crazy filmmaking kind of thing, but it's still very kinetic and very energetic, but it's not, his usual mannerisms kind of thing. And then Jason Statham, I always enjoy Jason Statham. Even in Jason Statham's bad movies, and he's made his share of bad movies, he's still cool. I mean, the dude's just charismatic. He knows how to do action. He's great at that. The only reason it didn't rate higher on my list is that Jason Statham himself actually disappears for large chunks of the movie because they go off on these other side plots, and you're like, can we just get back to Jason? Because I don't really care so much about this other story going on. But other than that, I mean, I actually enjoyed the movie. I was very surprised by it. It's one of those ones I knew nothing about going in except for, the trailer. And I liked it.
You had me almost sold on checking this movie out till you told me that Statham is gone for a good chunk of the film. And now I'm like, okay, now I don't want to watch it.
Now you know how I felt watching the movie. It's like, it's still in my top 10 currently, but it could have been so much higher if he'd stuck around.
Here's the thing that bothered me about the film. And I don't know who the actor is, but every time I see trailers for Wrath of Man, there's a bearded guy in the film. And every time I saw the trailer, I was like, is that fucking George Clooney? Because if you real quick glance from a trailer, because he's only on for a split second, I was like, is George Clooney in this movie? Seriously? I'm
actually not even sure who you're talking about because it's been a while since I saw it. It's been a couple months, so I don't remember.
It's a foreign guy, but for some reason, there's in the quick snippets of the trailer, for a split time, I thought it might have been was it Syriana? George Clooney was
Syriana. It was him. Yeah.
Who had the big bushy beard kind of thing. I for a second there I was like, wow, Clooney grew the beard back and is now in this movie. Okay, and then I looked it up. I was like, oh, that is so not George Clooney.
Yeah, no, he isn't in this movie.
I don't know. It's like you had me and then you lost me on the stage.
I would recommend it. It's definitely worth seeing. I'm just saying it knocked it down a star for me, on my review, just because because Jason Statham disappears. I'm like, oh, come on, man, just get back to the good story.
Gotcha. Going to my 10, I know this is not on Brian's list because I don't think you've actually seen the movie, kind of like I haven't seen your number 10. This is a film that's actually stayed in my top 10, like hanging on for dear life, stayed in the top 10 for pretty much since it's gotten released. And that is I don't think this got released in theaters. If it did, it was in the indie, like, people that hold indie theaters in it. But this is the movie called Our Friend. Our Friend has got Jason Segel, who you and I both love, Casey Affleck, Dakota Johnson. It's based off of a true story. It's based off a book about Casey Affleck's character. And granted, we haven't seen this movie in months. We're not going to remember character names for the most part. So we're going off of actor names. So yeah, Casey Affleck's character is married to Dakota Johnson's character. They're basically have become like best friends with Jason Segel. Dakota Johnson's character has gotten cancer, so Jason Segel is kind of like this aimless guy. He's got no kind of career goals or path or anything. He moves in to basically help share the load for Casey Affleck, with Dakota getting sicker and sicker. The chemistry between these three work really, really well. It's got great drama. It's got great emotion between all three of them. All three of them put on great performances throughout. The comedic elements, when they come into play, I think work seamlessly, because Casey has always been good at comedy, but he's always been more of a serious actor. Dakota Johnson is good at playing off of comedy people. She's not necessarily funny herself, but she can play off comedians really well. And Jason Segel's just hilarious in general. And there's one particular story element that I wasn't necessarily really a fan of, but once again, this is based on a true story, so you can't really get mad at something when it's a true story. But I think it's a really good film about these three people who came together, and their friendship kind of kept them and their families together through this tough time. Three solid performances from the three leads. Like I said, I think I stumbled upon this on, like, I can't remember if it was Prime or something one day, but I looked it out because of the three leads. I definitely was not disappointed in it. Brian, I don't believe you've seen Our Friend, have you?
I haven't seen this one yet. I know you've talked about it before, and so I'm actually kind of interested in it. So I'm waiting for it to hit one of the streaming services so I can check it out.
Yeah. All right.
Is it more of a drama or is it a comedy?
It's more of a drama. If we're going by a percentage, I would say it's more like 75% drama, and 25-30% comedy. The comedy is interwoven with the drama to kind of lighten the mood, but it is more a drama overall.
So I am interested in seeing that, although I will say I want to see Jason Segel do some more straight comedies again.
Segel just kind of he had that height during How I Met Your Mother, where he was making Forgetting Sarah Marshall, The Muppets, I Love You, Man, all this stuff. And then he kind of went this indie route, and then he just kind of, not necessarily stopped, but he just kind of pulled back. And yeah, I agree. I want to see him back in the fold of one of the main comedy guys. We just really haven't got that lately. What's your number 9?
I don't know if we'll talk about this yet or not. My number 9 was on my most anticipated for 2 years in a row, like a lot of these. Boss Level.
We're gonna talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. Okay.
And like I said, guys, it's his number 9. We're gonna talk about it later, which means it's higher up on my list. Trust me, we got plenty to talk about when it comes to that movie. So we're gonna go ahead and jump over to my number 9. Let's put it this way: if you were a betting person and you came to me and said, Sean, I guarantee you at the halfway year mark, this movie is going to be in your top 10, I would have slapped you in the face and called you a fucking liar. But, and I'm sure Brian's going to give me a huge eye roll when he hears what this movie is, it's Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hear me out. Once again, like you said, we're at this point of the year, not a lot of stuff's come out, so some things fall into the cracks. And Zack Snyder's Justice League is one of those movies. The first Justice League film wasn't great. I didn't hate it like most people did. I was just kind of like, it's better than BVS. Watching this one, yes, it's 4 hours long. It's ridiculous. They could probably cut like 45 minutes if they just went regular time instead of slow-mo. But the changes that they made to this film makes it feel like an entirely different film from the previous cut, with adding Darkseid and all these other character elements and different scenes and all that stuff. it worked for me for the most part. I think in terms of what it was to what it became, even though it's not going to be canon, which I think it should be because this version is just way better all around than what we have right now for the DC films. I think what Snyder did, while overly long, works incredibly well. The new stuff added flows really well with the story. The new elements, the dark side aspect of the new villain, the way they updated Steppenwolf and changed Steppenwolf's story, I really liked. Every aspect that I had issues with outside of the slow-mo, that I had with the original Justice League, for the most part, got fixed in this. It's still not a perfect film by any means. It's not the best DC film by a long shot. It's not even in the top 10 best DC films. But based off of the improvements that they made upon this film previous to the last one, it creeped into my top 10 spot at number 9. It definitely won't be in my top 10 at the end of the year. But yeah, just Zack Snyder's Justice League made the top 10. It's number 9, Brian. Don't hate me.
Yeah, I've seen it. Well, it's not. I mean, this isn't in my worst 10 of the year or anything like that. So I don't hate this movie. I didn't hate the first one. The first one wasn't good.
No,
I mean, the original cut of it. But I've seen far worse movies. This one, there were a lot of improvements made to it. It's definitely overlong and doesn't need to be. There are plenty of scenes and subplots that can be cut, plus all the slow-mo. My biggest problem with it is the thing everybody else loves about it. They added so much more Ray Fisher Cyborg, and he, to me, is the least interesting thing in this movie. I think they should have left all his stuff on the cutting room floor.
I agree, because you and I had like an hour 20-minute review of this. We were both in agreement when it came to that shit.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I that's like the biggest change to the movie was that, and that's the worst change they made. But I mean, there's a lot of things I do like about it. I liked what they did with the villain, things like that. I didn't like the whole, cock tease ending where it's like, oh, this is the movie you could get if you let us make another one. It's like, just whatever, Zach. And like I said, I don't hate the movie. It just wasn't going to make my top 10.
I like where it could have gone if they would just let it happen. But yeah, it is what it is. It made the top 10. It won't be at the top 10 by the end of the year. I guarantee you 2 movies are going to creep up and take Justice League.
I hope so, or else this is a really shitty year.
Oh God, it's gonna be our disappointment list is gonna be like a Santa's list of shit if 2 movies don't creep up and take over Justice League.
Right.
What is your number 8?
My number 8 of the year so far is Nobody.
I fought so hard to try to get this in my top 10, but it just didn't make it. It was between that and Judas and the Black Messiah for my honorable mention. So go ahead.
I actually thought you might have it higher than this. But yeah, Nobody's a movie that, we saw the trailers for it. Well, first of all, you heard the concept of it, and you're like, okay, Bob Odenkirk being a,
John Wick,
kick-ass, like assassin dude, whatever. Yeah, basically being John Wick. And like, I don't know if that's gonna work. I mean, if it's a comedy, maybe it'll work, but no, it's played completely straight. But it's the same kind of the producers behind it and stuff are the John Wick people, and actually I really enjoyed it. Now, it was not everything I hoped it would be. It was like I wasn't completely sold on it. I had some problems with it, or at least some things I was disappointed with. But for the most part, I mean, I liked the way it was done. I thought the action was excellent, of course, with the same kind of team behind John Wick working on it. Bob Odenkirk was convincing. I totally bought him in this non-comedic role. I thought he did very well. It's definitely still has its share of, there's humorous moments and things like that, but it's not, a comedy. You had Christopher Lloyd show up there. It's like always nice to see him back in the big screen.
Yeah, that was like the biggest like oh man, I haven't seen Christopher Lloyd forever, and then we get what we get with him. I'm like,
right. Well, it's like I don't know if they hid that from it or if I just didn't pay attention. I had no idea it was going to be in the movie. And then he just showed up, and I'm like, oh, Christopher Lloyd. And then I thought it was going to be like the dad sitting in the rest home or whatever it was. But no, he got to get in the action and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was just, this is one of the first movies. This came out in like February, I want to say?
Yeah, it was February.
So it's kind of one of the first movies I got to see back when my theaters finally opened up again. And it was just, it was nice just to be back in the theater again. But it was also nice to just not be sitting through crap just to be at the theater. I was actually watching a movie that, was fun, had plenty of action to it. And I really liked it.
Yeah, I think what kept it out of the top 10 for me, and what really kind of lowered the rating of it when I initially did the review, was the first 20 minutes. I just wasn't a fan of the first 20 minutes. Like, they just kept beating it over the head.
Well, I understand what they needed to do there. They had to set up this mundane life that he had, but they did stretch it out a little long.
It was way too long. And like his family and all that stuff, I'm just like, ugh. But then as soon as they actually like got him to his point, the movie's fucking great. And like I was saying, when we see Christopher Lloyd, I was like, oh my God, is that Christopher Lloyd? And then we get to see what Christopher Lloyd ends up doing by the end of the film. And I never knew I needed that until I saw it happen. I feel like the story needed a little more of a touch up, a little more explanation, because we still, I don't think, ever really figured out what the fuck Bob Odenkirk was by the end of the film, except that he's a guy that does things.
You know? Kind of a fixer this and ten. But I mean, that's the one thing I liked about this movie is like, while it could have easily been like, look, it's Bob Odenkirk's John Wick. I did like that they kind of flipped it in that, John Wick was this guy who got dragged back into this world that he's tried so hard to stay out of. And when Bob Odenkirk is a guy who he's craving to get back into it. So he finally finds an excuse to it. And he's like, yes.
Yeah, he was literally like, I hate my life. And then someone pushed him and he's like, oh, push me again, please.
Yeah.
Now I have a reason to do what I'm having to do. I love Mr. No, or not. I always want to say Mr. Nobody. It's not Mr. Nobody.
That's a whole different movie. Yeah.
And it's also a character of Fast 9. Nobody is actually going to be popping up on another one of my lists on this episode. So we're basically talking about it right now. So it'll be easier to skip when we go through it later. But yeah, I love Nobody. It was right outside of my top 10. And it's because of that first 20 minutes. Because I remember watching it. Because I had to watch it at home. I didn't get to watch it in theaters. And I was just kind of sitting there just like, oh, man, when are we going to get to the fun stuff? And then when we got to the fun stuff, it was great. Yeah. Yes, I love Nobody. I'm glad it made the top 10 list for one of us. Going to my number 8, literally just reviewed it a couple days ago, and that is the horror comedy mystery Werewolves Within. Are we talking about it, or is that
not on my top 10? Go ahead.
It's not on your top 10. Wow. Okay, so Tomorrow War made it, but not Werewolves Within. Wow. Okay. Werewolves Within. I feel like I've just been talking about this way too much lately, so I'm gonna gloss over it.
I just shot 5 reviews today or yesterday.
I did. I shot. You guys know I'm wearing the same damn shirt in all these reviews. So I've done a lot of talking today. Werewolves Within. I think the premise. First off, based off a video game. Never played the video game because I don't play the VR.
Is it supposed to be based on the game? I didn't know that was the thing.
It's a PlayStation 4 VR game, but the VR games suck, so I don't ever touch it. But yeah, it's based off the video game. I love this like horror version of like Knives Out in a sense, but with a werewolf instead of a murder. The cast is. I think it's a great cast in terms of core. You got is it Michaela Watkins? Is that yeah. She plays everything to kind of a 10, and yes, is it borderline annoying? Absolutely, but I love her as a comedic actress. Of course, we both love Milani. How do you say your last name? Because I'm gonna fuck it up.
It's Milana Vayntrub.
We both love her. And her in this movie is what we needed. And I think we both said in the beginning of this, when we both watched this, her performance in this gives it a full star more. If she was not in this movie would not be nearly as good. Sam Richardson is great in the film. He's got great comedic tones, which I've said in my review. He's either really on in most of his movies or he's kind of in the backdrop, kind of like in Tomorrow War. I feel like his comedic tones would have been better if Chris Pratt played off him better in Tomorrow War. In this, he's got someone in Milani. Is it Milani or Milana? Milana. Sam's got someone like Milana who is beautifully playing off the banter. And it works so great. Plus, it's got one of the best little mini dance sequences in a movie in a long time, probably since Ex Machina, that we both love. But it's a fun whodunit film, which we haven't really had a horror film like whodunit film in a long time. And I really enjoyed the film overall. And when we do get the reveal of who the werewolf is, I think that's also fun. There's a lot of fun. Some of the characters can get a little too over the top, a little too annoying, but they don't eventually last that long anyway. And I also really love I'm blanking on the guy's name. from What We Do in the Shadows. He was one of the gay couple guys. The shorter one.
I don't.
Like Gillian or something.
Ryan Jackson or the other guy?
No, the other guy. Cheyenne Jackson's cool too, but I'm talking about the other guy.
Harvey Gillen.
Yeah, Harvey Gillen. I love that guy. So when him and Milana both being in that film made me incredibly happy. I think they both do great, especially the one part where they're on a standoff and Jackson's like, "Are we really doing a Mexican standoff right now?" Babe, don't say Mexican. It's just a standoff. It's just like, I love that. Brian, I know you're not as big of a fan as Werewolf Within as I am, but since it didn't make your top 10, but yeah.
I considered this for my honorable mention. I didn't put it on there just because the movie itself, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I passed by it a couple times, not knowing anything about it. I just thought it was just some, another straight to VOD kind of movie. But then you said it was, you really enjoyed it. I'm like, you know what? I got to check this movie out. And I knew going into it that because there's a card game, like a party game called Werewolf, that I think there's a couple versions of Werewolf and One Night with a Werewolf. There's a couple different things, but it's all the same thing where you're trying to figure out who's the werewolf. Kind of an Among Us kind of thing. But I didn't realize there was a video game too for it. But so I knew that was it. And clearly that's a part of the whole story is about trying to figure out who the werewolf is. But that I think is one of the things that bugged me the most is there's so much trying to these red herrings and everything. And they really kind of stretch things to make everybody seem suspect. And they do all these things that nobody would do. And so some of those things kind of took away from it for me. But I mostly just sat back and enjoyed the movie. It was fun. Like you said, Milana Vaintrub, her being in it in a starring role, because she's never gotten to really do a starring role, that just raised it, the rating for me right there, just letting her be in it. But then that she did such a good job. She was a ton of fun. Like you said, Sam Richardson, I really like. I don't know if has he ever been leading a movie before?
I mean, like say you got him in Tomorrow War. He's
supporting characters, but he's never been like the lead in a movie, as far as I know.
Maybe not as kind of like main. And
but I thought he was very good here. I mean, obviously he has a lot of comedy to it because that's kind of his specialty. But it's not completely comedic. He handles the serious stuff as well. And like you said, in Tomorrow War, his stuff just seemed kind of out of place and forced, that comic relief lines. Yeah. Because it was like he's the only person being goofy in that movie.
It wasn't his fault. It was just the tone that they would film.
But I thought he did a good job. So I actually very much enjoyed this. Not quite to the same extent that you did. But the 2 stars alone, I think, bumped it up for me. And actually, the director, I didn't realize till after I watched it, is the same guy who did a movie a year or two ago called Scare Me, in which he also co-starred in it, along with Aya Cash from You're the Worst. She's also in The Boys.
And The Boy, yeah, fantastic in The Boy.
I really like her in that. And so I would recommend, if you like this movie, I'd also recommend.
Dude, oh my God, could you imagine this movie if they had Aya Cash in it with Milana? Oh man, that movie would be.
Sean needs a minute. We'll be right back.
No. What I'm saying is, if Aya Cash would have played, I think Gwen with the mechanic.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh man, that would have been great. That would have been so much more fun. All right, so we're going to yours. Is number 7?
My number 7. It's been a good week for both of our lists, apparently. Another one I've watched just in the past week, and this is America, the Motion Picture.
It's not on my top 10, but it will be on another list. But we'll go ahead and talk about it right now.
So yeah, this is one of those movies that it seems just a tailor-made for me. And this one's gotten a lot of like mixed reviews since it came out. And I don't understand it because I guess it's just people's style of humor. But this is another movie that I had no idea was coming out, no idea it was being made until I saw this, Netflix sizzle reel, before the summer. They talk about all the movies coming out this summer, and I saw some animated thing with like George Washington. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I tried to look into it, and I couldn't find much. And then they finally put out a trailer the next day for the full movie, and I'm like, oh, I have to watch this. If you're not familiar,
this is how it played out. So you saw the trailer. And you go, hey, Sean, have you seen this America, the Motion Picture thing? And I remember like the day prior, I was like going through my YouTube and I saw this America, the Motion Picture, and I like let it play for like, cause like if you're over a video for too long.
Auto plays, yeah.
And I played for like 5 seconds, and all I saw was the marching. I was like, no, not interested. And I just passed it by. And then you told me that, I'm like, Yeah, you're talking about the American Revolution cartoon that's got a really weird voice cast, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested. You go, no, watch the trailer. I watch it. I'm like, what the fuck is this movie? Continue.
And even while I watch the movie, you say, "What the fuck is this movie?" Because yeah, you look at it, you think, "Okay, it's an animated version of the American Revolution." It's like,
That sounds
but no, this is it's made by the guys behind like Archer. The voice cast is like Channing Tatum, Jason Mantzoukas, Will Forte, Olivia Munn. It's got a great voice cast top to bottom. But this is if you like comedy that is vulgar and nonsensical, you'll love this movie. If you don't like vulgar humor or you don't like things that don't make sense, like, a lot of anachronistic things like modern stuff in old, in revolutionary times, you're not going to enjoy it. But then you're thinking way too much. This is not the movie for you. But this is just a movie it's my style of comedy. I laugh my ass off the whole time. It went a little bit long. There's a couple slow parts to it, but still, even then, I was still laughing at almost everything in it. So I enjoyed it a lot.
There was definitely, I think the slow part you're talking about was like right before the third act battle, right? Like the kind of in between.
Yeah, kind of right before that, yeah.
They missed a perfect opportunity, and it pissed me off so much. I'm like, if they don't do this, I'm gonna be mad. When because Channing Tatum plays George Washington, he's got like all the things written on the board. He's like going over everything. I was waiting for him to go science. I was waiting for it. It didn't do it. It's like missed opportunity. God damn it!
But they already had Magic Mike dancing at the campfire there. That was in the trailer, but yeah.
How could you not call out the science thing? Oh, it was such a missed opportunity for me. But no, I when I did my review a couple days back, or let's be real, it was today. I'm wearing the same damn shirt. It was today. The way I described it is like if you basically took all these actors, put them in a room, gave them a script and go, hey, you're playing George Washington, you're playing Benedict Arnold, and you got them all completely wasted and said, go. And then they just recorded it and then drew the animation based off of what they said. That's what this movie feels like. That is not a bad thing. It's hilarious. It really is. I went in with the lowest of low expectations. I was fully expecting to hate this film or just be like, well, that didn't work. And by the time we got through the first, I think it was like 5-10 minutes, let's just say the theater scene with Abe Lincoln and George Washington. By the time we got through that scene, I was like, there's no way this movie's going to fail me. Like, I was like, this movie's great. And the only reason why this didn't get in my top 10 is the same reason, like you said, it overstays its welcome probably by about 10-15 minutes. And Jason Mantzoukas, he's funny. He is. Dude needs to learn that he doesn't have to talk every 3 seconds. I said it in my review. He's like a fish. He feels like he has to talk or he will die. Sometimes you're just like, dude, shut up. Like, let him
blame him. I mean, it's the directors or editors or whatever they do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, he's going to keep doing his shtick, but they choose how much of it they want to put in, and they put it all in.
Talk about on this past week's Weekend Crusaders with like Melissa McCarthy or Will Ferrell or John C. Reilly, where it's like, yeah, they're funny, but you got to rein them in. You got to pull them in. You got to control them. Because if you just let them just keep going, it's going to hurt the film. And that was the thing that kind of hurt the film is because after about 40 minutes of Mantzoukas not shutting up, you just wanted him to shut up because he was taking away from everyone else who are great in this film. And that's why it didn't hit in my top 10 was because of that. And like I said, I like the guy. He's funny, but he just has a threshold for me, and he always surpasses it and then just keeps going, and he never stops. Once he figures out that kind of sweet spot, Mantzoukas could be one of the best comedians in Hollywood. Problem is that he needs to figure out, he always just goes way too far, way too much, and then he needs to find that sweet spot. And I think if he does, he'll be one of the best, comedy actors in Hollywood. But until he does, he's going to be borderline annoying in every film that he is in. But American Motion Picture is hilarious. I had a blast watching it. I almost wish that you and I watched that together because I feel like that would even have made it even more fun watching our reactions to laugh and stuff like that. Because there's one part, it's in the beginning of the movie. It's when they're Benedict Arnold's doing his thing, and they're like, I am changing my Netflix password. And then like not even like 5-10 minutes later, someone's like, get the car. What the fuck is a car? Channing Tatum is hilarious in this film. I love Tatum's reactions. Will Forte, I never knew he was going to be a perfect Abe Lincoln until I saw him in this movie. I wish he was.
Will Forte. I mean, we talked about MacGruber before. Will Forte's comedy works for me, but Channing Tatum, you're talking about. He's one. I think both of us kind of had this thing where, like, we were not big fans of Channing Tatum until he started doing comedies. We're like, this guy can really do comedy. He should stick to more of that. But even then, I do an animated voice. As some people, it just sounds like they're reading animated lines. But I thought he did a great job.
I felt like for the most part he was mocapping this entire film as George Washington, because everything he was doing, I was like, I'm believing him as George Washington doing all this stuff, and he's just in a big room, kind of like when we saw the video of Benedict Cumberbatch being Smaug, and he's on the ground like all that shit, and we're like, I believe that Channing Tatum is running around as George Washington in one big room, and they're just all like writing it down, like drunk.
Have you ever watched? There's a behind the scenes video of the making of the movie Rango. You've probably not seen this.
I actually didn't see Rango. So
when they made Rango, they had all the actors in a room, and as they recorded their lines, they had them act out the entire movie in this room. They weren't even mocapping it; they just did it just like for the interaction stuff. But it's a fun video. I'll find it for you sometime.
I wish that that's what they did for this, and then they just would release that.
Release that version of it.
Material, because I would love to see. Because I feel like Channing Tatum. I will say you're lying until I see the footage. That Channing Tatum is just reading this, sitting in front of a sound like mic, going, let's do this for fucking America. No, I don't believe it. I believe him going, yeah, like that's the Channing Tatum that I'm picturing as
Vote passes, fucking democracy.
Exactly. Like and then he plays Freebird.
That's the national anthem, right?
Yeah, it's totally the national anthem. I loved it. There's so many great moments. Like I said, and there's spoofs of other films and everything. It's a great film.
Just go watch it. We won't give it any more away.
Just watch it. It's on Netflix. It's free. And it's the
4th of July today. You're not watching it today.
Which, I mean, by the time we release it won't be 4th of July anymore. But you guys get it. My number 7. Now we're going to go to probably another eye roll from Brian. But I don't care. We talked about America, the motion picture. We're in a good space right now. I think this movie is it's in my honorable spoiler, it's my honorable mention for top 5 surprises. So that way we're just getting this out of the way right now, because I know it's not in your top 10. I know you're not going to talk about it. This movie had no business being as good as it was, and it has no reason it deserves to be as good as it was. And that is Disney's Cruella. I
still have not seen it, actually.
Yeah, and I'll refrain from saying too much spoilery because you haven't seen it yet. If I could have, I probably would have liked it more. I still couldn't get that. Sometimes you watch a movie and you just can't let something go, and it's just sitting here the whole time. That was my problem with Cruella, is that the movie that we see, by the end of the film, I can't see where the Cruella that we got at the end of this movie becomes the Cruella we see in the cartoon. I can't see this Cruella that we get in this film become, I'm going to kill puppies because reasons. There's no reason for this character that we see in this film to turn into that person. That's my main problem with the film overall. Take that part out. Remove that part from your brain. Cruella, very stylized. Soundtrack's awesome, if not maybe a little too over the top of the volume, because sometimes it drowns out the movie because they really want you to know this is a great soundtrack, everybody. Bam! And it's like, okay, cool. Emma Stone does a great job as this version of Cruella. Emma Thompson does her best version of playing like the actual Cruella, because let's basically play this. Emma Thompson's basically playing Cruella. Emma Stone's named Cruella, but not really playing Cruella. But the cast is great all around in this film. Paul Walter Hauser, who I'm kind of hot and cold on most things, I think he's hilarious in the role that he plays. The dogs in this movie, especially the one, I think he's called Wink. It's a little dog with an eye patch. Adorable and awesome at the same time. The style, the fashion, I wouldn't be surprised if this film maybe got nominated for clothing design or costume design at year's end. It's fun. I enjoyed it. I just couldn't let that little that little voice in the back of my head let it go. And that's like I said in the review. That's my problem with most of these villain prequels. Like, how did they become this? Because never by the end of that film do we ever get that villain at that spot. Maleficent is basically a misunderstood hero, but she's supposed to be this incredibly bad witch in Sleeping Beauty. There's other ones I'm blanking on right now, but that's the problem, is that with Cruella, she's more of a hero by the end of this film than she is this horrible human being that we get in the 101 Dalmatians cartoon. And then the mid-credit scene, that also is a really effed up thing that I can't say because Brian hasn't seen the movie yet, but anyone who has seen the movie, if you guys are really paying attention to what it's telling us at that point, that's incredibly fucked up. I still enjoyed this film. It is overly long. Once again, and that's kind of the run for a lot of our films, is that if we knock it, a lot of it's because it overstays its welcome. Cruella probably could have been about 20 minutes shorter. But I think it had enough twists and turns throughout the film that keeps you on the edge of your seat, keeps you going, and is enjoyable for, I would say, more adults. I don't think kids, this is definitely not made for kids. This is made for our age and people probably in their 20s, because I don't see kids sitting around for 2.5 hours watching this film. It's not a kid's film by any means, but nonetheless, I really enjoyed Cruella. Brian's not going to really have a whole lot to say because he hasn't seen the movie yet, so I'm kind of taking up his allotted time.
No, but it's honestly the reason I haven't seen it yet is because neither of my kids was interested in seeing it. And so I'm kind of like, I'll see it at some point, but they weren't in a rush to watch it. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay to get it on Disney Plus. And there was other stuff I wanted to see at the theater, so I didn't see it there. But I mean, I was interested in the movie. It's got a great cast. I mean, besides Emma and Emma, like you said, you got Mark Strong is the valet in there. And actually, one of the guys I was looking forward to is Joel Fry, who played Jasper.
He's great.
He's in a TV show. If you got Amazon Prime, watch a TV show called Plebs. It's basically kind of like Workaholics, except it takes place in ancient Rome, and it's hilarious. Check out the show because Joel Fry is the best part of it. He's also in Yesterday, so you might have seen him in that. But so I was looking forward to seeing him in this movie. I started hearing things like it was, from the trailers especially, it looked like basically Devil Wears Prada. And I've heard it kind of has that same kind of vibe to it. And then, of course, like you said, it's kind of had a hard time seeing how you get from this to the pure evil Cruella that she becomes. So, I mean, there's things about it that are kind of hold me back, but I'll watch it eventually.
It's the Devil Wears Prada meets Joker Disney-fied. That is the best way you can explain it. But Joker. I mean, in terms of like they try to humanize the Joker and Joker, like, oh, it's because everyone fucked with him. That's why he went to the Joker. Kind of like this with Cruella. That's basically what it's like. And then you have the fashion world and a bitchy boss and stuff, and that's where you get the Devil Wears Prada aspect. Yeah. Going into Brian's sixth. What is your sixth pick?
Six. Let's see if we talk about Godzilla vs. Kong.
It is not in my top 10.
Not in your top 10, really?
On one of my lists, but it is not in my top 10.
Now I'm really curious to see what's in your top 10. So Godzilla vs. Kong is we're kind of getting into that point of realizing that these movies are not going to be in my top 10 at the end of the year. This is one though. I mean, because I'm somebody who I actually enjoyed Kong vs. Kong Skull Island. The Godzilla movies, I've not been a huge fan of either of these new incarnation of Godzilla movies. The first one, Godzilla was barely in. And the second one, was fine, but it had some weird plot decisions and characters that kind of sidetracked the whole movie for me. But this one, I mean, you got exactly what they sold it as. You got plenty of battles, with Godzilla versus Kong. You kind of knew what was going to happen. I mean, even before you watch the movie, that eventually they're going to team up against a bigger bad guy. That's not spoilers. That's anybody with a brain saw that coming.
Anyone who's seen the toy lines or the trailers or anything, they can't help.
Anybody who's seen anything.
Fucking films.
Yeah, but I mean, there's as usual, kind of there's several of the human characters. I know you're a big fan of Rebecca Hall, Sean's favorite actress of all time. And then they had there's some weird things with the human storylines I didn't care about. But for me, this is the kind of movie that, like, again, this is one of the earliest ones when theaters opened back up in my area. This is back in like March, because it was on HBO Max, but I wanted to see it for the first time. I went and saw it on a big IMAX screen, and I got everything I wanted. I got big, huge, loud action spectacle with Kong fighting Godzilla, cool special effects, And so as a movie-going experience, I really enjoyed this. So is it going to be in my top 10 at the end of the year? No, but for now, it makes it in there.
You know what? I'm actually going to hold off what I'm going to say until it comes up on this because
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because it'll be coming up here very, very shortly. And my number 6 is also on another one of my lists, so we're gonna kind of move into that. So yeah, just because they're kind of both the Godzilla and Kong and this film are like right there, so I might as well just ping them together. So that's basically honorable mention through 10 through 6 for that. Now let's go ahead and go to I think you guys enjoy this part of our Weekend Crusaders where we start talking about our disappointments, what we did not like. And I digress. When we say disappointments, that doesn't necessarily mean that we didn't like the films. That means that we had higher expectations than what we got. Some of the for the most part, some of these movies am I disappointed? I actually quite enjoyed. One of them is in my list for the top 10s of the year, but it didn't reach the potential that I felt that it should have reached. I don't know if Brian's is like that. Brian might be all movies that he hated. Mine are movies that I somewhat enjoyed, but did not reach the threshold that I expected it to be. First off, my honorable mention was probably one of the first disappointments of the year for me because I just expected more out of this film. And that is, I think it was the first HBO Max movie that got released this year, The Little Things. When you have a cast of Rami Malek, Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, I want to say there's one more actor or actress in here that's really, really good. And you have a serial killer crime drama. You put all these people in this, it should work. It should be great. It should be, one of those fantastic films. And yes, the performances are all really good. I think Leto does a great job. I think Denzel does a great job. Rami Malek, I feel like probably should have gotten a little more to do in the film, but he's decent in what he's doing in the film. But up to a certain point of the movie, it just dies. And it has an abrupt, weird ending. And I feel like everything that we were getting promised from the first half of the film didn't really deliver in the second half of the film. And it just was ultimately a disappointment for me overall because I had too much hope and anticipation for what this film could have been, and it just did not reach it for me. Did you ever watch The Little Things?
I didn't, and it's because I didn't hear many good things about it. It's one of those movies I didn't get to watch right away because I had gotten HBO Max, but I did not. I think my theaters were not yet reopened when this hit originally. But so I was going to watch HBO Max, but didn't watch the first couple of days, and then all I was hearing from people was like that it was so disappointing. The reviews were bad, and so I'm like, you know what? I'll watch it at some point. But then I just never got back around to it because I'm like, well, if it's not good, I didn't want to waste my time on it. But I can see totally what you're talking about because it has, just the top 3 actors alone, and it's such a good cast. But yeah, never checked it out, and now I'm really not in a hurry to. So,
what was your honorable mention for top 5 disappointed?
My honorable mention for disappointed was actually another one that actually went to straight to streaming. This one to the great Paramount Plus network, and that is Infinite. Because Infinite is a movie that it came in just in the bottom of my most anticipated list of the year. It was like number 19, I think. And that was based purely on 3 things. You got Antoine Fuqua directing it with Mark Wahlberg again, and especially Chiwetel Ejiofor. I mean, I didn't even know anything about the story really at the time when I first put on my most anticipated list. It's one of those just based on the pedigree alone. You're like, oh, this, even if it's not great, this is still going to be a fun, a good movie, well made. It wasn't. It was a movie that parts of it looked cool. It had a cool basic concept to it. It's like they could have done so much with the concept. But it's funny because everybody, including myself and almost everybody I talked to about this movie, had the same feeling. Like you get to the end of the movie and you're just like, I don't even remember what happened. It's so instantly forgettable. because by 2/3 of the movie, you're kind of like, okay, I don't even care what's going on. Can this just end already? And I didn't hate the movie, but it was just so instantly forgettable and so disappointing just based on the people involved. And it's such a cool concept, and they did nothing with it worthwhile.
If I had any anticipation for this film, it would be on this list.
Mm-hmm.
But because I knew it was on Paramount Plus, I was like, well, this movie can't be good because they're putting it on Paramount Plus.
My anticipation for it was before it moved to Paramount Plus. Once they moved it there, I'm like, oh, okay.
If it was on Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, I'd be like, okay, well, those are like the big three. I mean, Hulu's there, but Hulu's more TV, not necessarily movies. But even though we got Palm Springs last year, which was fantastic. I like you said, Antoine Fuqua. He's amazing. I love that director. And then Mark Wahlberg, he's hit or miss with me. And then of course we both love Chiwetel Ejiofor. And then this film, Highlander meets The Matrix for me. Basically, is kind of one of the better ways to explain it to me. But yeah, I dozed off during the final battle because it was so boring.
Even the action, they somehow made boring the action. Yeah.
Yeah, I cared more about the Dylan O'Brien character that we only get like 5, maybe 10 minutes total of in this film than the Mark Wahlberg character. Had I had any remote anticipation of this film, it would be in my list. It's one of my worst reviewed films of the year because it started off promising. And then as soon as Wahlberg joins the main group, it's just exposition dump, training, nothing's really happening for like 30 plus minutes. And then final battle. And then just the end is just kind of like, oh, we might get sequels. No, you're not.
You're really not.
Yeah, it was not good at all. I wanted it to be good. I was like, when Dylan O'Brien popped up at the beginning, I was like, yes, I didn't know he was in this movie. Yay. Also, another Jason Mantzoukas film. This was him at his most toned down, too.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. If you could tone him down.
Outside of John Wick 3, this is the most toned down I've ever seen him.
Oh, yeah, because when I saw him, I was like, oh, no. And I was like, oh, shit. He's actually on his best behavior in this movie.
Because you got a director like Antoine Fuqua, which is
exactly. He was like, no. And that's the thing, too. The movie doesn't look bad because Fuqua knows how to make stuff look good. It's just the story is dull as shit. So yeah, I fully back you on Most Disappointed. It's one of my worst films of the year. Which it's still not necessarily, like you said, it's not necessarily a bad movie. It's just forgettable. I mean, hell, if you quiz me on stuff that happened in the movie right now, I'd probably fail.
I couldn't tell you anything
because I don't remember, and it's relatively new. It's only been a few weeks, and I don't remember.
I watched it when I was gone on vacation. What, 2 weeks ago? Not even.
Yeah. And I barely remember it. Going to my number 5. This is also my number 6 of the top 10 of the year so far, which tells you that I love the film, but it just didn't hit where I wanted it to go. This was on my most anticipated in like the top 3 for the last 2 years. I love the first film. It was one of my favorite films when it came out. I was so excited for this movie. It's still a great movie. I'm not knocking it. It just didn't reach the potential that I felt like it should have grabbed, and that is A Quiet Place Part 2. I love the first film. I do. The second film is really good. It just did some decisions that felt like it held this movie back, mainly separating the family. Separating the family and having Millicent Simmons and Cillian Murphy go one way and Noah Jupe and Emily Blunt and the new baby go another way and kind of breaking this up, to me, was the worst decision you could have done in this film. Plus making Noah Jupe's character borderline annoying to the point where I wanted this child to die because his character was so annoyingly stupid in this film. But outside of that, I loved what the film did. It just, especially the beginning, when we got John Krasinski back and we show like day one of when everything happens, I thought that was incredibly well done. I loved what they did with that. But then as soon as they broke the family up and they went their separate ways, that's when the movie started to fall apart. It also I didn't really notice it until someone pointed it out to me, and as soon as they pointed it out to me, now I can't get it out of my head. Is a lot of people are confused that Quentin Tarantino didn't direct this because they like to show feet a ton in this film, and a lot of people are like, it should have been Quentin who directed this because it would have made more sense. But nonetheless, the acting's great in the film. It just didn't reach my expectations. But it is my number 6 of the year as well. But it's my number 5 most disappointed.
I'm going to talk about it later, so we'll leave it there.
Okay, so it's going to be higher up on your list. So then, are you talking about for disappointed, or are you talking about for your top 10?
Top 10.
Okay, so then what is your number 5 most disappointed?
My number 5 disappointment was my honorable mentions, the Tomorrow War. Tomorrow War I was really looking forward to, because Chris Pratt, for me, I really like him. He's done a lot of these movies that are action, but with plenty of comedy mixed in, like the Guardians of the Galaxies, even in his Jurassic World, which are a little bit more serious, but still kind of has that snarky personality to him.
Yeah.
So I was really looking forward to him, and this is kind of another, where he's just the star of it, because really the cast around him, there's recognizable names, but he's really kind of carrying this movie on his own as far as the star of it. And then the concept of it, which I wasn't completely sold on, because I still have problems. If you've talked to me about this movie at all or seen my review of it, it's like there's things that just don't make sense just in the basic premise of the movie that kind of holds me back. But still, I was like, this could be a cool idea if they pull it off right. It's going to have, some cool action to it, some cool aliens. So it was on I think it was number 14 on my anticipated top 20 most anticipated of the year. And so I was really looking forward to this movie. Of course, it moved to Prime, which I don't think that's automatically a sign that something's a bad movie, that they don't have faith in the movie. I think that in this current market now, if they keep doing that, they do it 6 months from now, I think it says something. But for now, I think it was like, what? The theaters aren't going to have enough business to make the kind of money we need to make for something like this. So if we can sell it to Amazon and make our money back, great. So I went and watched it. Like I said, I've talked about it a little bit already, but I enjoy it, but it just did not live up to my expectations.
Yeah, like I said, I pretty much said most of what I wanted to say for it. My whole thing is that I think everything in the future works incredibly well. I think the alien designs looked fantastic in the film. It's just the present day stuff that just didn't work for me. Some of the performances, a la Betty Gilpin, I think didn't work for me pretty much at all. And then some of the characters that were the most interesting didn't get enough screen time, like Edwin Hodge or
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons was another one. And then the main future girl. They just kind of...
Yvonne Strahovski? Oh, you mean the one that came back?
Yeah.
Oh.
And like they tacked her on in the final act.
I don't know the actress' name.
I'm blanking on her name. I mentioned her in the review, guys. If you watch the review, you know who I'm talking about. I feel like she should have had more to do, and they kind of held her off too. But yeah, it's like I said, I still enjoyed the movie. It just didn't reach what it should have been. But yeah, so going to my number 4 most disappointed is Godzilla vs. Kong. Brian, I'm a huge Godzilla fan.
I do.
I love Godzilla. This was also what'd you say? Team Kong?
Team Kong.
Yeah. Godzilla vs. Kong was also in my top 3 most anticipated for the last 2 years. So I was super, super excited to see this film. And the Godzilla Kong fight scenes, they work. I have nothing against the Godzilla Kong fight scenes. Every time Godzilla and Kong are on screen and they are battling, the movie is beautiful. But the humans, like most Godzilla films, bring this movie down. Rebecca Hall, I would rather watch paint dry for 12 hours than watch Rebecca Hall act. Alexander Skarsgård is fine, but his character is just borderline stupid in this film. Millie Bobby Brown's character is completely, utterly pointless to have in this film again after having her in the previous film. That whole storyline with Brian Tyree Henry.
Storyline, I will agree.
That whole storyline is utterly worthless and pointless and not needed in this film whatsoever. Kyle Chandler, probably the best actor you have on your cast. You have him for 2 scenes, and you don't even use him. Like, you're not even using the best at your disposal here, everybody. Come on. Like, if you had a reason to have human characters in this film, which I get you have to have that, so that was just not raw for 2 hours, You don't even use the best one you've got. You wasted him. Why? And then there's other points, like Brian pointed out, I think when we did the main review, that like Kong climbs out of the center of the earth in like 2 seconds and shit. And it's just there's so much stupid shit that makes no sense, that this movie deserves to have someone smart directing it. And I'm saying that the director didn't necessarily do a bad job, because like I said, the fight scenes look great and everything like that, but they need someone to take a hold of this franchise who understands that the humans are not the most important factor, that the humans should not be taking up 60 to 75% of this film. That
they are sadly who would make a great movie out of Godzilla's Kong? Somebody like Michael Bay, honestly.
No, because then you got his stupid adolescent humor. I would keep.
But he knows that the characters are secondary.
No, yeah. I would rather have. Well, no, because he fucked it up too. I was gonna say Roland Emmerich, but he made '98's Godzilla, and that is a travesty. But no,
I like it better than new ones.
Keep Michael Bay the fuck away from my Godzilla films. I don't hate Godzilla Kong. It's a decent movie. It's just, once again, it was so high up on my list. I expected so much more out of it. Now, like I said, in terms of the fighting, it does exactly what I want. But am I supposed to believe that a battleship can hold the actual weight of both Godzilla and Kong in this film? Fuck you.
Not only hold them, but when they jump on it,
exactly, and then it doesn't capsize. It's just there's certain things about this movie that just really eat at me and irk me, and it disappointed me greatly to a point. But when they fight, I enjoyed it. But just because I enjoyed watching them fight does not make the movie good. And so that's why it's number 4 on my most disappointed. Brian, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie that I don't hate, but I was just disappointed basically on where my expectations were, and that is The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. So
one of my worst reviewed films of the year.
So the first one I really enjoyed. I mean, I think that obviously Ryan Reynolds is a really funny guy. Samuel L. Jackson is always great in everything he does. And Salma Hayek, I love Salma Hayek. She doesn't make enough movies these days, especially stuff where she gets to have fun. So I really love the first one. I heard they're making a second one. I'm like, okay, let's continue. It's kind of a throwback to that 90s action comedy feel, and I can take another one of those. And I just watched the trailer for this, especially the Red Band trailer. I'm like, this is going to be so much fun. Because, there's plenty of funny lines in it and some cool action moments. I'm like, I'm going to really enjoy this. This has a chance to be like my sleeper hit of the summer. And I went and saw it, and it was just like, I don't want to say bored, but I was just kind of like, I was watching the movie, and I was kind of sitting the whole time going, oh, this is not what I want it to be. It's like, it's one of those things where, most of the good jokes were all in the trailers. The action is kind of, you don't really care what's going on to it. Ryan Reynolds, of course, is being Ryan Reynolds. Sam Jackson is being Sam Jackson. They're both kind of being themselves. And that alone is always fun to watch on some level, to see those two just kind of doing their thing. And so it does definitely have enjoyable things about it. Most of all, that Salma Hayek gets to have, you can tell she's having a blast because she gets a way bigger role in this one. She gets to have a lot of fun. You can tell she's sinking her teeth into it and having fun with this movie. So, it's not without its merits. It's just a movie that it did not nearly come to what I kind of hoped it would be, especially after I saw the trailer.
Yeah, I was not necessarily a fan of the first one. It was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. You know me, Ryan Reynolds is one of my favorite actors. I love Ryan Reynolds. I love the way he does his films. I love his snarky comments. A lot like we said with Chris Pratt. When Chris Pratt gets to be funny, he's great. When Ryan Reynolds gets to be funny, it's great. Same thing with Samuel Jackson. In the first film, yeah, they look like they're having a blast playing off each other and doing that. I don't know what movie you saw, but I saw a movie that made Ryan Reynolds look like he had no interest in wanting to be in this fucking film, that he was contractually obligated to be there. He was not selling anything in this film. He looked like he was just bored collecting a paycheck. And you could see it in his face that Ryan Reynolds did not want to be there. Samuel Jackson did not look like he wanted to fucking be there. The only person that wanted to be there was Salma Hayek, because she got to do everything in the film, except that she had to scream everything to be funny. I don't know why comedic actresses, not all of them, but for the most part, why?
We just talked about that with Tammy, yeah.
Exactly. Why do you guys feel like you have to scream everything to be funny? You can be quiet funny, and like subtle talking. Because honestly, some of her best moments in this film is when she's talking calmly to Ryan Reynolds. And some of her best comedy lines are when she's calmly talking to Ryan Reynolds, not when she's just screaming it out. That's not funny. It's annoying. And you can say the same thing about Samuel L. Jackson and shit like that. You know, everything's got to be loud and yelling. And some of the best Ryan Reynolds moments is when he's quiet talking. Everyone was just super loud in the movie. Antonio Banderas is completely wasted as the villain. He didn't even need to be there.
Yeah. Seeing Antonio Banderas thrown in the mix, especially since he's done so much stuff with Selma, I thought that would be so much fun. But he was like, it could have been anybody.
No, yeah. He was just a name. You know, it's same thing like same thing.
And Morgan Freeman looked like I'm worried about his health.
What was the point of Morgan Freeman? Like as soon as he popped in, I was like, I already know what he's going to be in this movie because we've seen it happen like 5 times in the last 10 years. Him doing this particular role. Gary Oldman's the same way in the first film. He didn't need to be the villain in that movie because he wasn't utilized at all. Because it's all about Ryan Reynolds, Samuel Jackson, and then in this movie, Salma Hayek just fucking doing their shit, and then you have people kind of all around them doing other things. It's just it wasn't fun. It felt like a chore to get through this movie because Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson made it feel like a chore because neither one of them felt like they were having fun while watching this film. That and Ryan Reynolds was like a crash test dummy in this film. Dude died like 5 times in this movie.
And so many times in this movie.
And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like I remember like in the first movie, like Samuel Jackson gets shot in like what was it, the calf, and he bleeds like a stuck pig. And they play his injury off legitimately. In this movie, Ryan Reynolds gets like run over. He gets blown up at one point. He gets shot, and he's still walking around fighting and running like he's 100%. And I'm just like, if the movie's not going to take itself seriously, then I can't take itself seriously. Now, granted, you know, this movie's like Fast 9 or F9, and you know, it's like, well, that's the world we live in. And this one, I was just, I totally dislike this film, which is hard for me to say for me loving most of the cast in the movie. But yeah, I hated that fucking film. Yeah. It was my second worst reviewed film of the year because my worst reviewed film of the year is my number 3. And that is, look, I'm not saying I felt like this movie should have been good, but it should have been better than what it was. And that is Willy's Wonderland. Willy's Wonderland, after the success of Mandy, with Nick Cage basically going berserker mode in that, when we see what this film was supposed to be, I'm sorry, I got excited. It was basically Five Nights at Freddy's, rated R, with Nick Cage at the helm. How was this movie not supposed to be fucking awesome? And the movie fucking is dog shit. It is horrible. It is badly done. It's badly acted. Nicolas Cage doesn't say one word in the entire film.
Really?
No, he does not speak one word in this entire film. Unless you want to count his screaming as dialogue, then yes, he screams. He does not utter one word this entire fucking movie. And I'm sorry, you can't have someone as charismatic as Nick Cage and not let him speak, especially when he's fighting animatronics. How do you not let him talk? What is wrong with you? Who thought that was a good idea? Because then we have to rely on teenagers to do the acting who, newsflash, they're not good actors. And that's our basis of our characters. That's the basis of the story. That's who's given us the exposition of why these creatures are doing what they're doing and all this shit. And we just have Nick Cage going.
So is this really just about the teenagers and Nick Cage is just there to have his name on the marquee?
Well, no, because by the end of the movie, it's Nick Cage. Nick Cage is a badass in the movie. He is.
Oh, so he's still a main character.
No, he is the main character.
Okay.
It's just that he doesn't say a word in the film. He just goes there. Like I think the premise starts. He's driving. He gets like a flat tire or something, but he runs through like one of those nail puncture tire thingies that like cops put out because he falls into a trap because this whole like Willy's Wonderland is like a demonic like sacrifice place. So basically they trap people with flat tires. They say, hey, I'll fix your tire, but you don't have any money? Cool. Go into Willy's Wonderland and clean it up for the night, and we'll call it square. And then during the night, the animatronics come to life and they kill, and then they basically won't attack the town. That's the premise of Willy's Wonderland. And then you have these teenage kids who basically are trying to burn down the place because they know what's going on. They know the truth, and they want to basically stop it. And then one of them goes into the building to try to save Nick Cage, and they all go in, and then blah blah blah. That's basically what the film is. So the teenage actors, they're not good. They're horrible. The townspeople, like the sheriff and all this. The main sheriff girl, oh gosh, she's in so much things. I'm blanking on her name. There's a reason why she doesn't have a lot of dialogue in movies, because she's not a good actress. I'm blanking on her name though. I'll throw her picture up right now so you guys know who the hell I'm talking about.
Beth Grant.
Yes, Beth Grant.
I most know her from Speed.
Yeah, she's not a good actress, guys, and she's the sheriff. And then you have all this other subplot shit, and it's just it's a mess. And literally, guys, it should just be Nick Cage against a bunch of animatronics. Which, yes, we do get that. We do get that. And when they do that, it's fine. But then you have like literally at one point these two kids, they all know that these things are in there and they're gonna kill you and they're gonna like come to life. They've already seen it happen. And then two kids just randomly go off into another room alone and have sex. And you're supposed to be shocked when they get killed. And it's like, you are the two dumbest characters out there. You know what you're basically swimming in shark-infested waters and decided, let's fuck. It's like, and then are shocked when you get murdered. No, you're stupid. And the plot is stupid that you decided to do that route. Literally, Nick Cage, all Nick Cage cares about in this movie is doing his job and drinking Red Bull. Or it's not Red Bull, obviously, but it's like some kind of energy drink and playing the pinball game, which every time he plays the pinball game, he basically thrusts into it like he's trying to fuck it. And it's horrible. It is such a shitty film. And the premise is right there. It could have been fantastic, but it's lazy, it's poorly attempted, and it's just a garbage fucking film. But yeah. And we will probably be talking about this at the end of the year, because I doubt I'm going to see that many shitty films that's going to top.
And clearly I have not seen this, so there you go.
Yeah. What is your number? I think, are we on your three? Okay.
My number three. My number three most disappointed was Coming to America.
I wanted to put this on here, but I also didn't have high expectations for it, so I didn't put it on the list.
Well, it came in just in the tail end. It was like number 19, I think, on my number 19 on my most anticipated for this year. And this is a movie that, it's because Eddie Murphy, I keep rooting for him to like make that comeback, to come back and, make the kind of great movies he did. Even if he does stand up, we have to see him do that. But just, now, he stopped acting for the longest time. And back when he was basically doing lots of, kids movies and remakes of kids movies and sequels to remakes of kids movies. And it was like, okay, can we get the old Eddie Murphy back? And so I thought, this is our chance. We'll get him back. It's directed by Craig Brewer, who I like. He's a guy who's done everything from Hustle and Flow to the new Footloose to Black Snake Moan and a bunch of other stuff. He did the Dolomite movie, Eddie Murphy's Dolomite movie. He directed that too. So I'm like, okay, he's worked with Eddie before, to good results. They're getting like, pretty much the whole old gang back together. But it's my problem with this movie is a couple things. One, from frame one, it's predictable. As soon as he enters the character, it's like, okay, I know exactly how this movie ends from the very beginning. Two, it's clearly completely neutered to get a PG-13 rating. It's like I'm not saying every movie has to be R to be funny. It doesn't have to be dirty humor. But when the first one is R, and then you watch this one, because I watched a lot of people, I probably watched these back to back. I watched the first one.
I didn't watch it back to back, but I think I watched like the first one like one night and then the next.
Yeah, that's not bad. I didn't mean like back to back, but I watched one the previous night and then this one the night it came out, and it's just like it just feels completely neutered their humor. And then the last thing is that the main characters that did return, including Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, they feel like supporting characters in this movie to this new generation. And there's one thing I really hate in when they bring back take these old movies and decide we're going to make this sequel to it. It's like, oh, everything doesn't have to be, the next generation. Can we just stick with the same characters and go on with their story, not to be like, oh, we're going to pass it on and we'll be the background characters and the story will be about them. It's like, you could still have a story about his children or whatever that and still let them be main characters, but they don't. They put them in the background too much. And again, this movie has its positives. Wesley Snipes is a lot of fun in it. There's some of even Jermaine Fowler and Kiki Lane, I think, is the main female. They do a good job in this movie. It's just it disappointed me because the movie kind of just went in a direction that I wasn't interested in.
You want to know how uninterested I was in this film? Halfway through you explaining it, I forgot what movie you were talking about, and I'm like, what Eddie Murphy movie is he talking about? I was like, oh fuck, Coming to America. That's how uninterested this movie was for me.
Wow, you have had too many concussions.
That is yes, that is true. But there's one point you were talking. I like if anyone who's probably watching this, I was like, I forgot what movie
Panic into his eyes. Wait,
I don't have your list. So like I like lost my train of thought and I was like, crap, he's talking about Eddie Murphy. I don't remember what movie Eddie Murphy did this year. Oh wait, it's Coming to America.
That's how memorable it was. Yeah,
exactly.
And it's a movie I've watched it the one time and I've never watched it again.
Oh, I have no interest in ever watching it again. The first one is considered a classic. But this one, no, you want to pretend this movie never happened. I agree for the most part. I think Jeremy, is it Jermaine or is it Jeremy?
Jermaine Fowler.
Jermaine Fowler. I think Jermaine Fowler is really good. I actually like that actor. I think he's
I'd like
very
to see him in his own movie, not in somebody else's franchise.
I really liked him in this movie. And Kiki Lane, I talked about her last year in the Old Guard because she was the main new girl in the Old Guard. She was fantastic in that. She's really solid in this too. My main problem with this film, especially, and this is the other thing they do when they bring back a very, very old comedy and they're like, we're going to do a sequel, is that they feel that they have to do the same jokes.
Oh, it's so recycled. Everything is just recycled.
Everything is recycled from the
neutered.
Film. And you know what? It was funny in the 80s. Well, it wasn't funny rewatching the first film. It's definitely not funny watching that same joke 30-some years later. Eddie Murphy's not bad in the movie. It's just Eddie Murphy's underutilized in the film. His wife in the movie is underutilized. Wesley Snipes in like the 3-4 scenes we get of him is good, but he's underutilized in the film. Everyone that you want to see, Arsenio Hall's not even a fucking factor in this movie either. It's just, it doesn't feel like Coming to America. It feels like a spin-off to push another film with these new characters, which
and they basically made cameos.
These new characters aren't bad. They're not bad, but we didn't come to see these new characters. We came to see these old characters, and every time these old characters showed up, they just wanted to rehash old jokes. It's a lot like what I told you about. I can't remember why we were talking about this last time, but Full House and Fuller House, when they did the new show Fuller House. When it was the grown-up girls doing their show, it was good. When they brought back Jesse, Danny, and Joey, they just were rehashing jokes from the late 80s, early 90s, and it didn't work. It was cringy and it was bad. And when they left, you were like, thank God, now we can go back to the girl story where it's actually somewhat decent. And that's what it kind of felt like watching Coming to America. When it was all the old cast that we love coming in, you're like, yes, and then you're like, ooh, no, this is not good. And then we get, Fowler and Kiki, you're like, okay, this is not bad. I like the story, but it's like at the expense of shitting on the old film. It was just a bad attempt. It's like, especially when Eddie Murphy had just came off Dolomite, you're like, all right, man, Eddie's gonna find his way back, and it's like, damn it, it's just disappointing. Like I said, it's one of my worst of the films of the year as well, just because of the epic failure that this film was. Which I guess once again, it was on Amazon Prime. It didn't go to theaters, and something at this magnitude. Kind of like, and you can attest to it last year with Bill and Ted Face the Music, when we've been waiting so long for this movie to come back, and when it does come back and it doesn't get released in theaters, you're like, oh, there must be something wrong with this. Because if it's not getting a full theater treatment, now granted, Bill and Ted was, COVID, but with this one, granted, it was probably still a little bit COVID because it was still very early in the year, but still, it was just kind of like, this isn't boding well. Yeah. Going to my number 2 for most disappointed. I really, really enjoy the first film of this franchise. I liked the second film, but not as much as the first. But this third one was a great disappointment to me. And that is The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I love the first Conjuring film. I think it is superb in its horror. Obviously it spawned the Conjuring verse, which I'm not a fan of pretty much any of the other Conjuring verse films except for Annabelle Comes Home, because it's basically Conjuring 2.5. Conjuring 2 is good. It's not great. This film is the first one where I finally said, oh, it's based on a true story, and while watching the movie going, fuck you. No, none of this shit happened. Whereas the other two, for the most part, can go, okay, there's plausible things that probably could have been legit or that could have happened or take a little bit of a spin on this. This one, they decided we're just going to do whatever the fuck we want. They sold this movie. This is why it pisses me off. They sold this movie, Brian, and you can agree to me on this, as a courtroom drama about them trying to prove that the devil made this guy do it. Was that not how they portrayed this film in the trailers?
I watched this movie last night. Literally last night, I finally watched this movie.
Oh, wow. So you are fresh on this.
And the whole time I'm thinking, I thought this was a courtroom thing.
Because that's how they promoted it, right?
Yeah.
I was excited.
Aside from pleading not guilty by reason of demonic possession,
and then at the last,
and then the very ending,
the last 2 minutes ago, oh wait, we have a court case we're supposed to be doing here, and then they just tacked it on at the end. It's like, dude, fuck you with this movie. But like, I was excited for this because I've said this on the show before, and it's fine. One of my favorite horror films of all time is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It is a fantastic horror film that is surrounded by a courtroom drama. It is done beautifully, and I was hoping that's what we were going to get with this film. No, what we get is a storyline that is supposed to go to a courtroom drama, but instead we get Law and Order Ghost Unit with the Warrens hunting a witch who has the power to transport demons everywhere and is after the Warrens and oh yeah, Patrick Wilson, who's a relatively young guy, is going to basically play like he's old and weak the whole time. And then, love conquers all bullshit. And then let's not forget that the kid who's on trial is in the fucking jail hospital surrounded by guards and people, gets possessed, elevated into the air, and everyone's watching this, and somehow none of that gets used in the court case. None of that is used as a reasonable doubt that he was possessed. Dude's fucking levitating off the ground trying to stab himself, and you literally see him on camera. You see like the nurses and the security guards seeing this shit, not knowing what's going on, and yet he was still found guilty.
He's found guilty of manslaughter, not murder.
I don't give a shit.
Mitigating circumstances.
I don't give a shit. There's like 8+ witnesses watching him being levitated off the ground / possessed, and somehow the case didn't get thrown out because it didn't fucking happen. But if it's supposed to be based on true stories, I very, very doubt that we'd have that many witnesses seeing that shit and nothing would have happened. This whole film is an epic fail. And it puts a black mark on the Conjuringverse. I get excited when I hear that a new Conjuring movie is coming out. When they announce a fourth one, which inevitably they probably will, I'm going to be very lukewarm for this because I did not like this film. I think I gave it a decent review because I was trying to be nice. The longer and longer I'm away from after watching this film, the more and more I despise the effort that we got of this third attempt. It definitely was a huge disappointment for me. They to me killed the franchise. The Conjuring. I'm not talking about The Nun and all the other fucking stupid ones that suck, but The Conjuring. I feel like this third movie effectively killed the franchise.
So for me, I'm not a Conjuring universe fan at all. I think the first one is okay. I think the second one is boring as shit. And I've even seen most of the outside ones. I think I've seen one or two of the Annabelles. And again, I thought they were just like mostly just boring and throwaway, whatever. But so me going into this movie, I went in with no expectations. I didn't even pay attention to the whole supposed to be based on a true story, things like that. I'm going to save some time a little bit later. This is my number 6 honorable mention for biggest surprises. Because while I did not love the movie, to me, it's the least boring and most watchable of the Conjuring movies. Because at least there was something to it that kept me, I was interested in it, I was excited in it, I was enjoying the horror action, whatever you want to call it, going on. It definitely has problems. So like I said, I don't love the movie, but I was surprised that I enjoyed it at all. So because I don't like the Conjuring movies, so I was surprised that I actually thought it was okay.
The first 10 minutes was really good. I will give it that. The first 10 minutes was really good. And then I love that during the credits they show, here's the real audio footage of what really happened, and none of that matches any of that scene.
You know, the funniest part of that is they show like they play the audio footage from like The Exorcist or whatever, and it's instead of like screaming and going out, it's like they're going, okay, get out of my son, come on, let him go.
Get out of my son. You get out.
You get out. It's like, did they just sit in front of a tape recorder and make this up? I don't know.
Like, why did you choose that recording? That is horrible. You get out of him. You get out. Don't get, like, you get out of him. Like, that's what it just sounded like. I was just like, why did you choose to put this on the fucking film?
So yeah, I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm just saying that it made my honorable mention unsurprised just because I was like, wow, I didn't completely hate this movie. And again, it has more to do with me not enjoying the first two than it does with me saying this one's good. That's all.
What is your number 2?
My number 2 most disappointed is Army of the Dead.
Okay.
So, yeah, Zack Snyder made Dawn of the Dead, which to me is possibly still the best zombie movie, a straight zombie movie, not zombie comedies, but straight zombie movie of all time. I really enjoy his Dawn of the Dead. It was, I think, his first feature film that he directed.
It was.
And it's probably still one of his best. So I'm like, okay, he's coming back. He's going to, he's gotten all this superhero stuff out of the way, and we don't talk about Justice League anymore. And so I'm like, he's come back to where he started. He's got, Dave Bautista's in this thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I went and saw this movie, and oh my God, this movie, again, it's not on my 10 worst of the year or anything like that, but it's just, I was so disappointed when I saw this. I drove 45 minutes to go see this because it's a Netflix movie, but it was playing in Cinemark theaters, I think. They have some kind of deal where they're like running Netflix movies for a week before they actually are Netflix. So I drove 45 minutes each way to go see this thing in a theater. And I'm like, and 2/3 away from this movie, I'm like, should I just go home and watch the rest of it later on Netflix? Because I'm like, the movie is way too long, way too slow, and there's very little actual zombie action in this movie when it comes down to it. I mean, if you've seen the trailers for it, you've seen most of the zombie action that's in this film. Dave Bautista and even the rest of the actors, they do fine, but it's just like, there's like, it starts off with this action scene, the movie slows down for like 30, 45 minutes at a time, and then it'll have like, a brief action scene. It'll slow down for another 45 minutes, and then like the last act finally hits, and you finally get a little something, but like I said, you've seen most of it in the trailers. So, I mean, this is a movie that just, I was just, of all the things I expected to feel at this movie, bored was not one of them. And honestly, it just bored me a lot of the time.
I don't hate this movie. Granted, when I did my review of this, I immediately, I think like a week later after I did the review, I'm like, oh man, my thoughts on this film have dropped considerably since I did the review. Because I remember I did the review, I was like, this is great, it's so much fun. And then like a day later, I'm like, oh, that doesn't make a lot of sense. The next day, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm like, crap, there's a lot wrong with this film. I rated this way too fucking high. But I still enjoyed the movie.
Were you the one that directed me to the whatever that is, the pitch meeting thing? I did
direct you to the pitch meeting.
Every single thing that it's like they read my mind and every feeling I had about this movie.
I totally directed you to the pitch meeting. I don't hate the film, and damn you, Screen Junkies, because they did the honest trailer for this, and now I can't watch this without looking at it. They said Dave Bautista has the face of someone who's trying to hold back a sneeze the entire time, and they showed pictures of it, and I was like, man, fuck you guys. Like, I cannot see that now. But I like the movie. It is incredibly flawed. There's a lot of stupid logic in this film, and I mean stupid logic in this film. But I like the actors. I think the whole zombie world that they're trying to create and build in this, I think, is really awesome. It's more or less the heist aspect of the film that makes literally no fucking sense. And that's the part that makes the movie bad. It's not the zombie world or the world itself around it. It's this whole idea of the heist that literally is the dumbest part of this film. I mean, how they're supposed to move, like, was it $220 million with backpacks when literally when they open the safe, let's put it this way, even with the helicopter, you could not get all that money on the helicopter with just the money. there's too much money there. Like, no one could get on the helicopter with that money because there still wouldn't be any space for the rest of the money. That's how much money there is. They just move it all in backpacks. Like that, I don't understand the logic of it. There's a lot of other things wrong with this film, but I enjoyed it. I liked it, but it's stupid bad. It's stupid bad, but I still enjoyed it. But yeah. Going to my number one most disappointed, I'm shocked that you don't know what it is. Because you were on the review with me and you literally went, wow, Sean, you got really angry really fast. And I wasn't expecting you to get that mad while watching this. My number one film. I have been so amped for this film ever since I saw the trailer. I was counting down the days for this movie to come out. And then it came out and I was fuming when this movie ended. And that's Mortal Kombat. Fuck this movie. Let's put it this way. Let's put it this way, guys. Do yourself a favor and click on the Mortal Kombat spoiler review on the channel. Go to about the 50-minute mark when I start talking about Goro. You guys won't be disappointed. Go to the 50-minute mark and watch me lose my fucking mind talking about the Goro scene in this movie. You'll get a good gist of how I feel about Mortal Kombat as a whole. I'm not going to go all back into it again because I don't feel like getting super angry again right now. But Mortal Kombat was an epic fail for me. There are some good aspects of it. Kano. There's some good scenes in it. Kung Lao's fatality and the cage match between Scorpion Sub-Zero and generic character player one. But for the most part, this movie's fucking stupid. And yes, I get it. It's a video game movie. I don't care. The first Mortal Kombat is leaps and bounds better, which I know Brian's going to say, that movie sucked too. No, this movie fucking sucked. But yeah, I go out of your way to go click on the Mortal Kombat review, and especially around the 50-minute mark, and watch me lose my goddamn mind because I don't feel like getting to that angry place again. Brian, do you have anything to add about Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Oh my god, is it in your top 10? Anyway, what is your number one most disappointed film of the year so far?
My number one most disappointing film, and it's not even close for me, is F9. More like FU. This movie, I have been one of the biggest defenders of the Fast and the Furious franchise. I mean, most people, like the first one. Most people, kind of like the kind of series they did in like 4, 5, and 6. I know it's 7. People started thinking it should end there, and I agree, it could have ended there beautifully. But
it could have ended at 7.
It absolutely. But Fate of the Furious came out. I really enjoyed Fate of the Furious. I'm like, okay, I'm game for more, and so I've defended it. People talk about how ridiculous it gets, and yeah, but I'm like, okay, it is what it is. But even I, with as much as I tried to defend this I watched the trailer. When I first saw the trailer for this movie, I'm like, this is going to be the movie where they just went too far. But they didn't just go a little bit too far. They fucking went off the charts. But I mean,
they
obviously,
went to the moon.
I don't want to spoil anything that happens in this movie, but just every 10 minutes, there's a scene where you're like, oh, come on. I mean, the whole movie, I literally spent half the movie going, oh my God, like this. And so I'm just like, it gave me a headache thinking about just how ridiculous the stuff was. And not even just ridiculous, like, oh, this is crazy action. No, it's ridiculous. Like, it's taking me out of the movie. It's so bad. I mean, everything from, places they go to, and they start with the magnets, and it's like, that's not how magnets work. It's just like things are happening.
Magnets work.
They're like, I think you talked about it in your review, how like every person is like completely bulletproof. Every car is completely bulletproof.
There's at one point in the movie when Tyrese is surrounded by 14 military guys, and they all shoot directly at him, and they don't hit him once.
Yeah, my thing has always been when they hit Fast 5, maybe 6. I think it was 6. When all of a sudden, when it became like, oh, we're going to call in this team of drivers and they're going to help us, track down these people. And it's like suddenly they're not just good drivers. Suddenly they're like, so proficient with weapons and shit like
They're
that.
James Bond.
That they're beating all these people. There's like military trained people, and they're beating them at their own game. And then in this one, like you said, you have that one that scene. It's pretty early in the movie scene too. We got like 14 guys shooting at Tyrese. Even as he's running down a straight line, they're all shooting at him. Not a single person hits him. And just because you make some jokey reference to it later doesn't
make it okay.
It does not make it okay.
But I want to know when Dom Toretto turned into Xander Cage. Because that's basically what's happened. Is they've mutated the Fast and Furious franchise and Triple X into one. Because Xander Cage was basically extreme James Bond. We've reached that level with the Fast and Furious films. They are basically just Triple X.
Yeah. And then my other problem with it is I've said for several movies now, the weakest part of the Fast and Furious movies for me is Vin Diesel, Dom Toretto. I don't care about his character. I'm enjoying the action stuff. I like a lot of the newer characters like Natalie Emmanuel. I even like Ludacris. Some of those guys I really enjoy. I would like to see a spin-off movie like those people. But it's like, but they keep focusing on Dom and Vin Diesel, and he's become even more and more of a Superman every time. And it's got to be about his family drama and all this shit. I'm like, I don't care about any of that, Vin Diesel. It's like, I think he misjudges what people care about in this movie. Then you got John Cena, who obviously, because The Rock and Vin Diesel kind of had a falling out, and plus he went and did Hobbs and Shaw, so he wasn't gonna be in this movie. So what do? Let's bring in another guy. Let's bring in John Cena. He's kind of a wrestler who's done some acting, and I like John Cena when he showed up in supporting roles in like comedies and things like that. When he tries to act like serious acting, it's awful. It's horrible. But I don't care about his character. I don't buy his character's arc in this movie at all. So I don't like him. And then there's the whole half the movie spent in flashback to him and Dom as kids. Don't care about any of that shit.
I actually like that part, and I swear to God, I thought they just de-aged Vin Diesel to look like a teenager.
I saw that in your review, and I'm like, really? Because I thought that was really bad casting for young Vin Diesel. But
no, I felt like they had de-aged Vin Diesel, and that was just someone that was Vin Diesel de-aged. And I was like, oh no, they actually found a kid who plays everything just as wooden as Vin Diesel.
Yeah. And then the cast isn't big enough. They add more. Like I was happy to see like in the trailers they're going to bring back Lucas Black and even Lil Bow Wow, whatever his real name is, I don't remember. But they turned them into the goofiest fucking comic relief. I was embarrassed for them. The characters in this movie. I'm like, oh man, if I was Lucas Black, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'd rather just not be in the movie than come back and play that role. Because first of all, he's playing this comic relief thing. Next thing you know, he's flying a fucking cargo jetliner plane.
This was a punk ass kid who was learning how to drift. And that's the thing that even if you go by the timeline, it's not that far back since he was this punk ass kid. Somehow he's aged like 20 years and now knows how to fucking fly these aircrafts and shit. Like, dude, fuck you.
So they betrayed half the characters in it, and it's like it got to the point where it's like, I can't defend this movie. It is beyond ridiculous. I honestly, at this point, I honestly don't even care about like you've Conjuring. They're going to make Fast and 11, and I'm like, I want them to be good, but I don't have faith they will. So my expectations have dropped dramatically. And so it's like, I don't know, but I've said enough about this movie.
Yeah, this is the first time I've actually heard you talk about it, because every time I keep asking you, did you see Fast 9 yet? You're like, no, but I will be. So this is the first time I actually got to hear you talk about it. Also, speaking of Mr. Nobody, they never fucking found him. The whole mission was to go save Mr. Nobody, and they never brought him up again.
They say they're Fast 10, but they still got to stop and have a barbecue first.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I got halfway through the film, I was watching with my dad. I was like, are they ever going to find Mr. Nobody? They just forget about his ass. And he's like, huh? I go, never mind. Just watch it.
Exactly.
And I'm like, and then like the whole like how they explained Han lived, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, that was just.
It's like, he wasn't really in there. No, he was fucking in there. We saw it. Like, you really could have came up with any good excuse to explain.
Honestly, before the movie came out, there was this whole theory that, it turns out he has a twin brother or something, which I thought was stupid as shit. I would have bought that before I buy
that. Would have been more plausible than the reason that it wasn't even a fucking reason. It was just like, you think you saw him die, but you really didn't. No, motherfuckers, we actually watched Han die. Like, don't. At that point, it's the franchise basically going, these guys, the people who watch these movies are fucking stupid. They're just gonna eat it up. They don't give a shit. No, it's a slap in the face. Like, don't treat us like we're fucking stupid, that we're not gonna give a shit. Especially in this day and age where we like fucking go through everything like a fine-tooth comb because of Marvel and Star Wars and shit. You're gonna basically do that like a fuck you. We don't care what you guys think. He's alive. Deal with it. We decided to bring him back. No, oh god, no. This would have been on my most disappointed, but I had no anticipation for it going into it because I saw the trailers and I knew like this is not going to be good. I'm going to see it anyway, but it's not going to be.
I'll be honest. I went based on my original anticipation, because I was like, going into this year, I'm like, I'm really anticipating seeing F9. The minute I saw that trailer, it really dropped. But I'm like, well, you know what? Sometimes trailers aren't good. It's fine. But no, it was just.
And they completely underutilized Charlize Theron. And then I love that John Cena, like, he's supposed to have turned good at the end. He didn't turn good. He just got turned on by the bad guys and decided to help them out. Like, he's still the same bad guy. Had he not
like Jason Statham, they're just like, forgive the fact that, oh, you just tried to kill us all, but it's cool. You're on our side.
But the whole thing is if Cypher and I forgot his buddy's name, Otto. It was Otto. If Cypher and Otto hadn't turned on Cena still would have done what he did.
Still would have been doing. Yep.
It's just because he got turned on and Mia saved him. Then he was like, okay, I guess I'll help my family. No, you're the same bad guy. You haven't done anything to basically turn yourself good. It's just
which I still can't figure out how putting those two sports cars up against the wheels makes this double long tank thing flip over.
Hey, Ludacris says it's physics. Okay, just because you don't get it doesn't mean it's not possible. Shut the fuck up. Normally we be going to our top 5 surprises, which we still can, but literally everything in my top 5 surprises we have either talked about or are going to talk about. Do you have anything in your top 5 surprises that we have not talked about yet?
No, well, actually, there's one that I'll talk about. The Conjuring, I said, was an honorable mention. My 5 would have been Werewolves Within, because I just pleasantly surprised, didn't know anything about that movie. My number 4 is the only one I'll talk about right now, because that's Palmer, which is
I have not seen it.
It's an Apple Plus, whatever their system. I don't even know what their thing's called. Is it Apple Plus? That was call it.
I think it's Apple Plus. Yeah.
I don't know, whatever it is. I didn't watch it that way. I watched it other ways. But Justin Timberlake, it's a drama. I like Justin Timberlake a lot.
I do too.
He started out in music, obviously. He started showing he had real super comedic chops. He did like Saturday Night Live, things like that. And he's done some other movies. But then when he started doing like regular movies, he's done like action movies with In Time. He's done a few other things. But this is like the first one where he's kind of had the lead in a dramatic role in a movie. And I was just really impressed by him. The movie itself is actually, it's pretty good. It's kind of it's a drama, which I don't enjoy straight dramas that much, just my own personal tastes. But it's a good movie. But I thought he did a phenomenal job. So so this one is actually a big surprise to me. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. My 3 surprises, Wrath of Man, just because I didn't know anything about it, and the other 2 we'll talk about later. Oh wait, no, That's wrong. My number 1 surprise of the year: Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. Have you seen it, Sean?
I'm done.
Have you seen it?
No, fuck this movie. I had no interest in watching this damn film.
So this looks like the worst movie ever made. I watched the trailer. I was like, this is going to be the worst movie ever made.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember why I watched it, but I ended up watching it. And I think the way I put it is I'm still not sure if I love this movie or hate it. But because it's such a weird side. It really kind of has that feeling like it's like the female version of MacGruber. It's such a weird, surreal kind of humor. And especially a couple scenes, and especially with the scene with what's the guy's name from 50 Shades? Jamie Dornan?
Yeah, Jamie Dornan.
He has especially one scene in this movie, and apparently he's a pretty funny guy from what I hear. But he gets to have a lot of fun, especially one scene in particular, which if you watch the movie, you'll know which scene I'm talking about. But it's just, you know what? Like I said, I'm not going to try and claim it's like best movie of the year. It's not in my top 10 or anything like that. But I was just surprised by how much I actually did laugh at this movie, because it's weird. It's bizarre. Half the time you're scratching your head at the same time you're laughing, going, what the fuck is this movie? But, I enjoyed it, which The reason it's on this list is because I would like I said, like the trailer and a lot of Kristen Wiig stuff, and I'm like, this is just not for me. But as much as I was saying what the fuck, I was also just laughing. So anyway, but yeah, so you don't have anything else that's not on your tops?
No, my top 5 honorable mention was Cruella. Number 5 was Nobody. Number 4 was Zack Snyder's Justice League. Number 3 was America the Motion Picture. That was the one I thought I was going to get to talk about. We already talked about it. And then my number 2 and number 1 we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So I guess now we will go to our top 5 movies of the year. Brian, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Mortal Kombat. So
I'm going to refrain, because you guys already know how I feel about this film. So, Brian, why do you feel
by
like
now they've all paused this and gone to watch the whole review, and they've come back here, right? So I don't need to talk too much about this either. For me, I went back and watched the first, 2. Everyone agrees Annihilation sucks, so we want to talk about that. The first one, I think, doesn't hold up. I mean, I don't think it was great back in the day. It was enjoyable for what it was. But it was, as more video game movies go, that's kind of as good as you're going to get. This one, I mean, I very much enjoyed this movie. Obviously, I forget his name, Josh something. Kano is the standout of this movie. He gets to have the most fun with it. I loved him in this movie. I enjoyed the fight scenes. Is the main character, I think they're Cole. Is he kind of bland and pointless? I absolutely agree with that. Like I said, just go watch the other review. You'll see all of our deeper thoughts on it. But this is one that I enjoyed. There's no way it's going to be in my top 10 at the end of the year. But as is so far, it's lived in here.
Josh Lawson, by the way.
Lawson, yeah. I love Josh Lawson. He's actually done a lot of stuff I liked.
Yeah. My number 5 is actually my number 2 for most surprise of the year. This is a film that I remember everyone was talking about this movie. They treating it like it was the next best, thing out there. And I was never going to watch it. But then everyone was like, oh my God, it's the best, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll fucking watch it. And it ended up in my top 5 for the year. And that is the Netflix animated film, Mitchells versus the Machines. This film, it's a weird film. It is very weird. It does some weird choices that I don't necessarily agree with in the film overall, but it does one thing really well. It sells the family relationship really well in the story. It's a mix of, I would say, kind of like the Goofy movie meets an alien invasion. Because you have the father and the daughter are at odds. She's getting ready to go to college, kind of like the Goofy. Goofy movie is not really him going to college. It's a sequel, but they're at odds and they have to go on a trip through this alien invasion, and they basically start developing a relationship through that. The little brother is in love with dinosaurs. I know all about that. One of my favorite moments of the film is literally in the very beginning where he's just randomly calling people, going, would you like to talk about dinosaurs? No? Okay, well, thanks anyway. Crosses off, calls the next one. I feel you, kid. You could call me. I'll talk about dinosaurs with you. And we can talk about all this stuff. I felt that in my soul as a kid, because no one wanted to talk about dinosaurs with me when I was little. But yeah, the animation is unique. Plus, of course, it's got a pug in it. We all know how I feel about pugs. And they make the pug part of the comedy, which to me was a brilliant move, especially near the end of the film. I loved what they did with the pug in it. I just really like this film. I think them adding like real live action shit that pops up randomly through the film, I didn't really necessarily like that aspect of the film. But I think the story has a lot of heart. It's got great comedy moments. Visually, with the Sony animation from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, looks fantastic. And I just had a really great time watching this film overall. What were your thoughts on it, Brian?
It's not the perfect place for this movie because it's my number 4. So we'll kind of segue in there. But yeah, so this is a movie that I saw the trailer for way back when it was still called Connected. And it sold this movie as this dysfunctional family kind of going on this road trip and reconnecting, trying to not use technology and stuff and actually connect, and tease a little bit of this technology uprising towards it. And like, that's the movie I was really interested in seeing. Now the movie came out, and a whole lot more of the movie was about the machines, the technology uprising, things like that. And that part of the movie was still fun for me, but it also, I think, just felt like a typical animated movie in a large part. I wanted more of kind of the family relationship and things like that. And there was some of that, especially in the beginning and a little bit at the end. But I guess I just wanted a movie that was a little bit more of that. But I mean, still, I enjoyed the movie. As a father, the whole father-daughter relationship was kind of really hitting home for me, because my daughter is getting older and she's kind of pulling away and kind of so the scenes with those two kind of really hit home for me. The animation, like you said, is really well done. It's got some creative, much like Spider-Verse, it's got some very kind of creative use of animation. I really enjoyed the style there. So yeah, I mean, this is another one that will it be in my top 10 at the end of the year? I don't know, but if for now it's actually in my top, it's my number 4. So.
Well, since you just mentioned your 4, go in there. My number 4 is my number 1 most surprising film of the year. You mentioned it earlier, and that is Boss Level. I remember last year you told me, hey, I just watched this movie called Boss Level. It doesn't come out till next year, but I got to see it early. Oh my God, this movie's great. You're going to love this film. And I forgot about it. And because I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. And then you were like, hey, Boss Level comes out on Hulu this week. You have to watch it and let me know what you thought. And I watched it, and I fucking love this movie so much. I love Frank Grillo. He's fantastic. I think that was what movie did I just watch that he was in and he was completely, utterly wasted in? Oh, it's blanking on me. Shit. Anyway, it was a review I just did recently. He was in it, and they just didn't utilize him at all. I cannot remember what movie it was.
Hey, Man's Wife's Bodyguard?
Yes. Why have Frank Grillo in that movie and not utilize him?
He was barely in that movie.
Oh my God, why even put him in the fucking movie? But anyway, Boss Level is fucking great. It's like a video game version of Groundhog Day. I loved every aspect of this film. Mel Gibson plays the bad guy. The other bosses are unique, especially oh God, what was the sword woman's name? She always says the line after she kills him, like, whatever her name has done this to you. But
is it Guan Yin? Is that her?
Yeah, I think it was like Guan Yin has done this. And like at first you're like, that's weird, but then after it's over, it's like it starts becoming funny. Like the first time you see it, like the first day he like wakes up in the movie and like he starts like fucking around and he dies. It's a great way to hook. Plus Gronk is in the movie. He is like the helicopter shooter. If you guys have not seen this movie, it's on Hulu. It's free, guys. You need to watch Boss Level. It is great. I loved every aspect of this film. I think I want to talk about it, but I also don't want to like share too much because I feel like a lot of the greatness of this film is watching it without knowing what's going to happen. This is one of those movies I was like, I'm so glad Brian told me about this, because if you had not beaten me over the head about this movie, it probably wouldn't have gotten watched, and I would not have got to know the greatness of what's Boss Level.
Yeah, so I honestly have not watched it in its entirety since I watched it the first time, and it was the end of November, early December of last year when I got a chance to see it. And when it dropped on Hulu in like February, March, something like that.
I think it was like March.
But I was able to watch the bits and pieces of it. But I want to sit down and watch this movie in its entirety again because, I really enjoyed it so much the first time. Like I said, Frank Grillo, perfect casting. I think he's a great guy. He's always been great in supporting roles. This is the perfect kind of thing for him to get to be the lead in. He's got the right kind of personality for it. Getting to see, Mel Gibson be a villain is fun. Like I said, it's got tons of, cameos by everybody from, like you said, Gronk is in there. It's got Will Sasso, Ken Jeong, a couple of UFC guys. There's Rashad Evans and Quentin Jackson played German twins in this movie. But it's just, like you said, it's Groundhog Day, the action.
Jardine's in it as well. Yeah.
What's that?
I think Keith Jardine's in it as well. He's another UFC fighter or former UFC fighter.
I think he was in there too, yeah. But they have, we've had the Groundhog Day, plenty of comedy versions. We've had a sci-fi version with Edge of Tomorrow. We've had horror versions with Happy Death Day. And so this is kind of the action movie version. And yes, it's got a very video game feel to it, hence the title, Boss Level. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's got some cool action. It's a simple concept. You're not going to go anything deep. It's going to be, you're going to get what you get, but it's fun. I recommend checking it out.
Since you already did your 4, what is your 3?
My number 3 is currently A Quiet Place Part 2. Like you with, I think, one of the other movies you were talking about, though, I kind of feel like I made this list, and like now I'm like, I've thought about it. I'm like, I like the movie. This is probably a little high for it, to be honest with you. But as it stands right now, it is my number 3. The first movie I enjoyed quite a bit. I wasn't as impressed with it as you are. It wasn't like my favorite movie of the year or anything, but I really did enjoy it very much. I think John Krasinski did a great job. Emily Blunt did a great job. This one I loved, especially the day one stuff. I wish the whole movie was day one of this thing, kind of show how the world got to where it was. But instead they do, a little bit of day one and then they jump to after the first movie. So, I was a little disappointed on that level, but I still think it was very well done. I liked Cillian Murphy's character. I assumed he was going to, show up to be some kind of villain, but he wasn't. It turned out to be, an interesting character arc that he had there. I don't agree with, some of the choices of the movie and some of the ways it went, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. So this is one that it probably is going to drop down farther on my list. It could still, hang in on like maybe number 10 or 9 at the end of the year. But for now, it's number 3.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we know we're getting a third one. That's 100% confirmed. We're getting the third one of these.
But not from Krasinski.
I think it ends in a great place. I think it ends in a great place. The
problem is it ends in the same place as the first one with a bigger speaker.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong with that. That, and I think the one part that I think that was a missed opportunity that they teased, and then when we got it, it was just kind of like almost like a wet fart. Was like the dangerous people, like on the docks.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of this? Like, that was not anything.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of like maybe they'll be used in the third film. I don't know, but just like when it happened, you were like expecting more. And
honestly, I'm not even though this is my number 3 so far of the year, I'm not even anticipating a third movie. For me, I like the first movie. I'm like, I don't know if I cared about a second one, but I'll check it out because obviously all the same people are back. I watched this one. I enjoyed this one, but I feel the same way. I'm like, the third one comes out, I'll watch it, but I'm not like super anticipating the third one.
I'm still super anticipating it. Another, no, never mind. That was a different actor. I was going to say another outing for this person, but never mind. They weren't in that movie. It was a different person. Going to my number 3. This is a movie that I guess a lot of people probably go, Sean, that's not a 2021 movie. That's 2020. But it got released on Prime in 2021, so it fucking counts for me. It is another Oscar favorite. Had a lot of Oscar nominations, and that is One Night in Miami. I remember when this came out, what really sold me on it was 2 things. One, I'm blanking on his name. He played. He was in Hamilton. He played Aaron Burr.
Just playing Leslie Odom Jr. Sorry.
Yeah, Leslie Odom Jr.
I almost said Bill Beckham Jr.
Yeah, no, that would have been wrong. But
Yeah,
then
Leslie
Leslie
Odom
Jr. being in it because obviously I loved Hamilton. So seeing him being in the movie playing Sam Cooke, and then of course the performance, at least in the trailer, of Eli Goree, who plays Cassius Clay Muhammad Ali, which I thought was like, holy crap, this guy is doing a perfect Muhammad Ali in this film. Yeah, the story, it's a play, but it's based off of how those two, Jim Brown, played by Aldous Hodge, and Kingsley Ben-Adir, who plays Malcolm X, all kind of basically hang out one night after Cassius Clay's title fight. And it's just about them kind of going through, talking about life and the political situations right now with race and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, that could be boring for a lot of people, but the performances from these 4 actors are stellar. They are incredibly well done. They're 4 of my favorite performances of the year so far. All of them have their moments to shine. Benedict, who plays Malcolm X, has probably the most bulk to play with because he's playing Malcolm X. I think Leslie Odom has a fantastic song at the end of the movie that really kind of brings the Sam Cooke character full circle. Ellie Marie as Cassius Clay is, to me, a pitch perfect to the point where I want them to redo Ali, just so I can see this guy play Muhammad Ali again. And then Aldous Hodge as Jim Brown. I think this is easily, hands down, Aldous Hodge's best performance. Regina King, I think this was her first directorial film. I think she did a great job directing this film, making it not feel like a play, because that's always been one of the main problems when you adapt a movie or adapt a play to a movie. This is the biggest problem I had with what was the movie? Chadwick Boseman won the Oscar for it this past year. It was Madam.
Rainey's Black Bottom?
Yeah, that one was just like, as I was watching, I was like, okay, this is clearly from a play because it feels like they're stuck in this situation and they're yelling out like they're projecting to a crowd, and it really kind of took me out of the film. This one, it just feels like a night with the boys all hanging out, and while yes, they do kind of stay in like 2-3 locations throughout the entire film, it flowed naturally for me. And I think, like I said, the performances are what sells this. If those 4 don't put on a fantastic performance, the movie utterly fails, and I think they both put on stellar performances, and that is why it's my number 3 of the year.
I have not seen this movie. It's one of those movies that I've heard nothing but great things about. I just can't get excited for it. And I'm sure it's a good movie. Just for me, something about it, it's not appealing to me. Someday I'll probably watch it, but I can't speak on it now.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I wasn't excited for it either, but I really just wanted to see this kid do Muhammad Ali, and then you're just watching it, and you're like, man, is it really just going to be them talking the whole time? And it is, but then you start actually like listening to their conversations. You're like, damn, like they are really acting the hell out of this.
I'll see it eventually.
Yeah. What is your number 2?
I believe our 2 and 1 are both exactly the same, so we're going to save ourselves some time here.
Yes, I think they are too. So our number 2 is...
My number 2 is also my number 2 biggest surprise of the year, and that is Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah.
So Raya and the Last Dragon is a movie that, Disney animation I generally enjoy. But, this one looked kind of like, whatever. It'll be another Disney movie. I don't know anything about the story, anything like that. Went and saw the movie, blown away by this movie. The story in it is very well done. It's kind of it's nothing too terribly original. It's kind of this thing some of you've seen in animated movies before, but I just love the style of it. I love the animation is some of the most beautiful I've seen ever put on film. I went and saw this in a theater, in a nice, digital cinema. And I swear to you, if you took out the characters, like the cartoony looking characters with the big eyes, things like that, I would have believed most of these scenes were filmed for real. Whether it be like a tunnel, with the stone walls and the flames going, whether it be the forest with the leaves and whether with water flowing. I swear everything in this movie, the textures of the clothing, everything looked completely real, the way the hair moved. So, I mean, just on an animation standpoint, I thought it was one of the best things I've ever seen on screen. But then the story itself, I thought it was very well done. I love the characters and the relationships between them. The emotional scenes and the action scenes, I thought, equally, I thought were very well done. The only negatives I had with it, Awkwafina is Awkwafina, which by the time you got a little farther into the movie, she wasn't bothering me, but especially some of those early scenes with her, it's like her trying to force her kind of humor into this. And it's like, I'm not a big fan of hers. But other than that, I don't have a flaw in this movie at all.
Yeah, I think you and I both were in agreement that initially when we first saw, I think it was stills of the film before a trailer came out, we're like, dude, this movie looks fucking gorgeous. It looks great. And then we saw the first trailer and it was like, all right, yeah, this is the movie we were talking about a few months back. And then we saw the first trailer with Awkwafina's dragon. We both went,
ugh.
We both went, okay, my anticipation of this movie had...
My anticipation dropped, which is why it made my biggest surprise, because I was sure I wouldn't like it mostly because
we both were just like, ugh. And I agree, the first scene with Awkwafina is not good because she just keeps making pop culture references. And I'm just like, okay, no, they probably shouldn't know what this shit is that she's saying. It's Aquafina being Aquafina. They really should have changed her dialogue in this. But once we get past that initial introduction to Aquafina's dragon, yeah, the movie it kind of becomes its own thing, and it becomes great. And I loved it for the most part. And I agree with you. It looks gorgeous from the first scene to the last scene. I want to say that you didn't mention that. I was like, oh, how did you not mention this? Was the fog scene, like the fight scene in the fog, beautiful. I do think that the third act, it kind of a little falls apart a little bit, but for the most part, this movie is flawless in its visuals. I enjoy the characters, even when they should be utterly ridiculous, like the little baby and the boy at the boat. They shouldn't work, or they should be kind of cringeworthy, but they did enough to make you like those characters and to make those characters be lively to the rest of the cast, and for them all to fit a role and a part of the film. And Raya's character is great as well. And then once we get past that initial introduction of Aquafina, and I think it was a smart thing too that they allowed the dragon to turn human, because I think by doing that, it made us kind of more open to Aquafina's dialogue. We're keeping her as a dragon. It probably was like, this is kind of ridiculous.
Well, because keeping her as a dragon, they could have had her doing more outrageous things, kind of like a Robin Williams as the genie, or she could keep doing her crazy comedy because but she had to be posing as a regular human, so she couldn't do that.
Exactly, and then even her character as she's being developed is like, well, humans are naturally good; they should be helping us. And then her kind of learning the world's not what that really is. Like, I like that aspect of her. I like the world building. When we get the very initial, how like the world is built like the body of a dragon, and like they describe each pair as like, this is the was it the spine or the back or what? Like that's what they called their lands. I liked that uniqueness of it. It was just, for me, it was one of those. It's like, wow, Disney really, I felt like, put a lot of effort into this. It didn't feel like a, let's just shovel out a animated film. It'll get, a lot of money. It'll sell a lot of toys. I felt like they took their time to make sure this was well done. And that's why it's my number 2 of the year. So going to our number 1 film of 2021 so far, I was not expecting this to be my number 1. Raya and the Last Dragon was number 1 pretty much from the moment it came out. And I remember Brian was like, well, this movie's clearly going to take the number 1 spot. And I was like, I don't know if it will. I don't think it will. But it'll probably be in my top 10. I was blown away by this film. I had to basically apologize to Brian because I remember giving him shit for this movie because he was so excited for it.
It was my number 1 most anticipated for 2 years in a row.
It was the most anticipated for 2 years running. I watched this film and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic from the beginning all the way to the end. The problems that we did have with the movie, I think we both collectively agreed with in the film. But this is Brian's movie. So, Brian, what is our number 1 film of 2021 so far?
In the Heights. It's I can say without question, it's gonna be top 5 for me by the end of the year. Will it be number 1? It's got a chance. I don't know how the rest of the year is gonna play out. But this is a movie that I was anticipating, largely because of Hamilton, but also some of the other people in the movie, just having heard the soundtrack to this before. And I really did. I was not disappointed at all. I had high expectations going in, and I still just loved. This is a movie that not only looks gorgeous, I mean, just the colors and the culture and the way it's filmed and everything is done so well, but it's just such a feel-good movie. It's like, it's one of those movies. It's like, there's not a real villain in the movie. There's not. I mean, it's just kind of a, not only one day, but like just a page in the life of this neighborhood. And it's just, I like the characters and the way they were created and their interpersonal relationships to it. The music, of course, is phenomenal. There's a couple songs that I'm like, if I was ever going to skip a scene, that would be the scene. There's one in particular that's complete Oscar bait. This is the song that I could totally skip every time. I wouldn't miss it. But it's the one that everyone else in the world thinks, oh, this is the best song of the movie, but I'm not going to go into that. Yeah, this is the one we have a whole review.
Yeah.
Both of us went off on this for like an hour long review or something, whatever it was.
No, this one was like about 30 minutes.
Was it? Okay, it was a short one, but we went into full deep thoughts on it, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on it.
We actually didn't. We actually tried to keep it as less spoiler as possible. We actually did a pretty good job at not spoiling this during the review, unlike most of our other reviews.
Yeah, so I mean, I won't spend too much time talking about it again, except to say that it lived up to all my expectations. I've watched it now, I want to say 4 times in full since it came out, mostly because like I watched it in theaters and then I came home and watched it on HBO Max the next day because I was going to talk about it with Sean, so I want to refresh my memory. And then I was like, oh, I want to make my daughter, who's really in the hounds, I'm like, oh, you got to watch this movie. Made her watch it. Went on vacation with some family. Go, hey guys, we got to watch this. So I made some more people watch it, and all of them love it. I think Anthony Ramos has got a big future ahead of him. Corey Hawkins was the biggest surprise of this movie. Who knew he could sing so well? But apparently he's like a Juilliard trained guy. I didn't know that. But yeah, I love this movie, and I think you agree.
Yeah, like I said, I told you, I was like, dude, after the first initial song, which is In the Heights, I was sold on this film. I agree. Anthony Ramos and Corey Hawkins are future stars. They're going to be huge. Melissa Barrera as Vanessa, I loved. Her singing in this movie was fantastic. Leslie Grace as Nina was also fantastic. Even Gregory Diaz IV, who plays Sonny, I thought did a great job in the film as well. Stephanie Beatrice, Daphne Rubin Vega, Dasha Polanco, the three, what do they call her? What do they call them? The three nails girls, or whatever they call them in the film. I'm blanking.
Salon girls, I think.
Salon girls, yeah. Loved all of them. Jimmy Smits is great too. The music is great. I immediately after getting this, I bought the soundtrack. I listened to the soundtrack a ton while I was at work. Mainly this, a lot of the same songs. I skipped the Oscar Bates song because I don't want to listen to it. But I mean, there's so many great songs in this. It's a fun story. I agree with what you said. There's no villain in this film. There's no generally bad person in this movie, which is really hard to believe because it's in New York. But it is gorgeous. It's shot beautifully. The cast is fantastic. The songs are lovely and addictive, and you can listen to them over and over and over again. I've watched this movie 3 or 4 times myself, mainly because I had a bad day, and I put it on because I wanted to feel better, and this movie does that. And I'm sad that I think we only have 1 more week of this on HBO Max. And
I don't know when you guys are watching this, but July 11th is the last day. This will be on HBO Max. I mean, it'll come back in like a month or 2.
Yeah, because eventually it's going to get released on digital and Blu-ray and stuff like that, which these are must-buys for us on Blu-ray for Brian and I. Oh, but we're taping this right now. We've now gone into July 5th on this recording, but this probably won't get released until July 6th or 7th.
So a couple days left.
If you have HBO Max and you have not seen In the Heights yet, go fucking watch this movie. You will not be disappointed. You may not love it as much as Brian and I did, but you will like this film. I would
recommend if you have a theater in your area and so it's open, go see it on the big screen while you still can.
I agree as well. I find it very hard to believe that there's anyone out there who genuinely hates this movie unless they're just trying to be a troll. That is how well done this film is. It's a feel-good musical, and the music is fun. It's inviting, whether it's $96,000 or In the Heights or Corey Hawkins' his Job song. I don't know what the exact title of it is, but the Job song.
Oh, Dispatch, yeah.
Dispatch. Benny is the character name. I love this movie. I love it. It's one of those movies that Brian and I, just like Boss Level, we're just going to have these 2 movies connected to each other. And we can always talk about these films. And that is why it is our number 1 film of 2021 so far. And I agree, this will probably still be in my top 10 for the rest of the year. Raya, One Night in Miami, Boss Level, they might still be in the top 10 at some point, depending on how the rest of the year goes out. But I can guarantee you, I will find it very hard to believe that I'm going to find 10 other films that are going to come out this year that is going to top In the Heights. There might be, 3 or 4 films, but there will not be 10 other movies that will find In the Heights. So when we get to next year or in the next 6 months, when we talk about the end of year, In the Heights will be talked about again. Guaranteed. Anything else you'd like to add, or for In the Heights, or are you good?
No, for In the Heights, I'm done. I'm just amused. I was looking back at my top 10 list, which goes, from In the Heights to Mortal Kombat to it's just all over the place.
Yeah, it's like I said, that's why I love doing the half year shows, because the lists that we get now are more or less not going to be the list we have by year's end. And that's the beauty of this. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Obviously, it's running pretty long. Watch it in parts. I don't care. Leave your comments. What were your guys' top 10 films of the year so far? What were your top surprises? What were your top disappointments? What was your worst films of the year so far? Because I think we pretty much named all 3 of the worst films that I had so far this year reviewed. But please leave your comments, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think of the channel as well as this episode. What do you want to see Brian Michaels and I talk about next? What do you want us to do on the channel? We're open to ideas. We're actually looking for new shit to do. We love doing the Weekend Crusaders show, but we're looking for some other stuff to do. If you guys have ideas, shoot those comments to us, whether it be on this video or on any of the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we're also doing this, but for the Weekend Crusaders, where we're going to go back and we're going to talk about films that we've already talked about, basically revisiting those films and kind of going over our picks over the past 6 months. We also have 2 big movie reviews coming out this week as well. We've got Black Widow finally coming out. We'll have a review for Black Widow. I don't know if Brian is going to be doing the review with me, or if it's just going to be me by myself. Part 2 of Fear Street, 1978. I know during my review I said 1973. It's 1978. We'll have a review for that. Brian has not watched the first one yet, so he has no opinions on Fear Street. I don't know if there's any other movies coming out this week.
No, that's the only major thing coming out.
Yeah, listen, I don't think anyone's willing to go against Black Widow. So
I just look at the list. I'm not seeing anything. I mean, something else could sneak out, but I'm not aware of anything.
Yeah, and then, of course, on Friday, like always, Brian and I will be back for our episode of the Weekend Crusaders, where we talk about 5 movies that came out during the weekend of July 9th and July 11th. So we're going to look out for those. And until next time, I'm Sean Wasserkrug. This is Brian Michaels. We are the Movie Crusaders. And until next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.